Thank you for tuning in to the MMA Roundtable. That loud noise you hear in the background is Jay or Ray or one of these cocksuckers typing away. You bastards! But no, it is June 13th, 2013, the 35th MMA Roundtable, the last MMA Roundtable before we take a little summer break. We will be talking to you about that. We will be talking about UFC on Fuel TV 10. We will be talking about UFC 161 this Saturday. We will be talking about the weekend MMA. Thanks so much for tuning in. Let's do this shit. And like I said, thank you so much for listening in to the MMA Roundtable. I said calling in because I was adding another member to the call. It is going to be a 4-man roundtable. Unless anybody else joins us, we might have Chris pop in and join us later on in the show. But currently it is myself, Ray, it is Brooks, it is Jay. Thank you guys for coming on. We'll get to each of you in just a second to plug your own stuff. But thank you for tuning in. This is the MMA Roundtable. Like I mentioned, this is going to be our last show until we take a little summer break. We are going to be picking stuff back up July 18th. We're taking about a month off for a few different reasons. All of us need a little summer break action. I'm going to be moving from Florida to Denver, and that's going to suck complete ass. But we do appreciate you tuning in and supporting the show. Like I mentioned, we got Ray, Jay, and Brooks. We'll start it off with the man over there commandeering MMA Mental like we always do. Ray, you're doing big things. The official commentator for Cage. I'm blanking. Cage. Don't tell me Cage. Contenders. Yeah, I knew it was like CCC. Commentator for Cage. Contenders. Yeah, the biggest show in Ireland, and I actually listened to it. And dude, you are really good for like something that was your first time doing it. You did excellently. So yeah, you're making big moves. Where do we find MMA Mental, and who have you had on recently?
Thank you very much. I always appreciate the kind words. The commentating was great, and I'm looking forward to getting in and doing it more. I'm going to try and get in with as many different promotions as I can, but I'll be certainly will be the commentator for Cage Contender going forward, which I'm really pleased about. Like you say, it was on TV as well. So to get in and have my first job and for it to be on first commentating job for it to be on TV is pretty cool. This week I've spoke to a couple of guys. I've been speaking to a few of the guys from Cage Contender. I spoke to an up and coming fighter called Kiefer Crosby. There's a guy that I spoke to who's got a very interesting story. His name's Artem Lobov, and he was actually in Sweden, and he cornered Conor McGregor in Sweden. And you talk about being right place, right time. Of course, Conor McGregor impressed everyone in Sweden. And he found himself in a bar sitting next to Sean Shelby, who, of course, is the matchmaker for featherweight division, and Artem is a featherweight. And they were talking about it. Artem was talking about his career. And he basically, Sean Shelby said to him, if you win 7 fights in a row, I'll give you a UFC fight. So now he's counting down. He's won 2. He's basically counting down to this UFC shot, which is just absolutely unbelievable. Talk about being, literally in the right place, right time. And I also spoke this week to a friend of the show, Paul the Titan Taylor. He's fighting on the same on the undercard, the main card for the Ian Freeman Ken Shamrock fight, which is UCFC 6, which is a big fight card in the UK. Also, check out the show I did this week with Brooks and Luke Barnett. We're breaking down the UFC cards. We broke down UFC 161. And for all those that are on Facebook that enjoy fantasy MMA, I've set up a new page, set up a few games that I like to run. So check out the UFC games page on Facebook. There's some good UFC-related fantasy games on there that have all come out from my wonderful mind.
Fuck yeah. It is myself and a few people, all from the MMA family today, or the MMA Mental family today, rather. We also have Jay Jeans, the host of the Early Stoppage podcast, and I believe you had Brooks on this week, right?
You are indeed correct. Yep, it was fantastic having him on. Come check it out, guys. It's on YouTube. It is MMA Mental's Early Stoppage. I mean, this week, as you heard from Jake, we had Brooks on. The week before, we had Kurt Holliber on just to diss and bash the UFC, forever cutting him. Next week, I don't have a clue who we'll have on, but yeah, we'll be discussing Rashad versus Hendo next week. We discussed it this week, and yeah, had a great time, man.
Who won the early stoppage game between Jay and Brooks? You won't know unless you check it out yourself. That's what we call a hook in the business, ladies and gentlemen. Go check it out. The early stoppage. It's a very, very, very fun pod, structured to be pretty short. I think it's only like 30, 40 minutes. You touch on the MMA topic slightly, you interview your guest. I think I'm still the only person to be on it twice. So if anyone else comes on it twice, I'll have to fight him or something. But yeah, it was a really fun show. And of course, we were just talking about him. He was just on the Early Stoppage podcast. He runs the MMA Addiction. Where can we find all this, Brooks? Thank you so much for coming on. And how are you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. You can find me on Twitter at the MMA Addiction, and also on Facebook right now. We're still working on putting together a web page for everybody to come to, but big things to come. Everything's still fresh and new for us. But yeah, I'm looking forward to being on the show with you here today.
Fuck yeah, it is the MMA Roundtable. We will be talking about a shitload of topics today, starting off with UFC on Fuel TV 10. I guess I'll throw in a plug for my own shit real quick. Just follow us on Twitter, the MMA Podcast. We haven't been doing our Friday shows, but the schedule is kind of fucked coming up. We're going to be doing our show next week on Wednesday. So that'll be Wednesday the 19th, and then we'll be taking the following week off. And then that's all I'm going to get into now, because if I let you know the next 4 weeks, I'm just going to put you to sleep. All right, UFC on Fuel TV 10, Big Nog versus Verdum. We're only going to really get in depth on two of the fights, but before we talk about those prelims, what was your overall feeling of the card? A lot of people were very critical of it, both beforehand, because it was not the most, it was not the deepest card we've ever seen the UFC put out. In fact, it was quite shallow. And I'm sure, as you could have guessed, on the Word on the Street podcast, lots of people were calling works. You had, I think, 9 submissions or something crazy. It was a UFC record. You also had the hometown Brazilians go undefeated on the entire card, something like 11-0, 12-0, something crazy. What were your overall thoughts on UFC on Fuel TV 10, right?
I think people are always critical of the card, of some of the foreign cards. Personally, it wasn't necessarily maybe a card I was super hyped for, but I always enjoy watching MMA. I've never missed UFC. I'm not going to start now. There was 8 submissions, which was a new UFC record, like you said. I think it was exciting to watch because of the finishes. Quite a few of the fights were surprisingly one-sided, which maybe that would be the only criticism, because they were quite short fights. But overall, I enjoyed the event, and I'm glad that I watched it.
I don't know why I can understand walking into the event why you'd be critical of it, but when you actually watched it, we rarely ever are treated to submissions these days. I mean, I think me and Brooks discussed it on our show. They are becoming less common than knockouts, mainly due to the nature of the game. It's becoming harder to get a takedown. When you go to Brazil, you've got to expect to see some high-level Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and that's exactly what we saw here. We saw a lot of guys come in with fantastic degrees of jiu-jitsu, and it really showed in the some of the opponents. Yeah, there was a lot of mismatches on this card as well, which, when you got somebody like Rafael Assunção versus Vaughn Lee, tells you the level of competition you've really got on this card. And the Brazilians were always going to do well. They're always fantastic in Brazil, and this just proves it again.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think all the Brazilians won, even when when they weren't fighting each other. There was a couple like Eric Silva. He had beat Jason High, and he made short work of him. But it was a great card. I wasn't upset with it. All the finishes. It's a lot better than seeing the decisions. You always want to see someone win decisively, and with what was it? You said 7 submissions. That's the record, and
I think 8.
Was it 8? Okay, 8. Well, either way, I think that's 2 more than the record than the previous record. But yeah, it was a fun card to watch. Obviously, a lot of the fights that we thought would go a certain way did end up going that way. There were a lot of underdogs, and I'm pretty sure most of them all lost. But yeah, it was a great card. I like watching the finishes. I wasn't upset with it.
Yeah, this is a much more optimistic view than I heard on the last couple of shows, which really it does deserve. It definitely was a really fun card, whether you think it was a work or not. Love seeing a bunch of subs. Aside, I do want to touch on the Thiago Silva and Big Nog Big Nog fights, I guess you'd call it, the Verdum fight, because he was actually the guy who won. But aside from those two fights, was the card worth the watch? And what was the most compelling fight on the card? I think all of us will say it was pretty compelling to watch. It's fun seeing a lot of subs. I don't know what I liked the most. I liked the Eric Silva, the Eric Silva fight, but I think I gotta give it to Hani Jason, just looking better and better every time he steps into the cage. You gotta respect a technical sub, choking the guy out until it's nighttime. What was your favorite fight outside of the Silva and Verdum victories, Jay?
I can't not mention the Silver fight, man. He made the card worth watching. He was the only reason I was actually going to watch this event. And man, I was out of my chair. I got a funny story to tell you guys. Me and my housemates were so loud. I would say my housemates. I was so loud that the neighbours said, "Could you keep it down?" And it was like 3:40 in the morning. But whatever, that's just how it goes when Thiago Silva's fighting. And he destroys the guy. Outside of that fight, I think, my favourite fight was probably the a Sun Sao versus Vaughan Lee. I was just looking for a Sun Sao to demolish the guy, and he gave me exactly what I wanted. And real Brits don't tap. It proves again that Vaughan Lee should not be in this country.
Oh shit, that is deep criticism to the fellow Brit Vaughan Lee, tapping to the armbar by Rafael Asunciao about a minute 50 into the second round. Brooks, what was your favorite fight, excluding the Silva and Verdum victories?
Well, you already had mentioned the Hani Jason fight. I thought that was going to be an all-out war, and obviously he made quick work of Mike Wilkinson. So I'll go ahead and
putting him to sleep in 84 seconds, son.
Yeah, that was awesome. But since you already mentioned that, I'll another fight that I was really intrigued by was the Antonio Braga Neto fight with Anthony Smith. I wanted to see if he could come in and do exactly what everybody thought he would do. But Anthony Smith, he's a tough guy. He's come a long way since he first got in, but I wanted to see what Nato could do, and he came in there and he got the submission quick, and that's what I hope to see from him in the future. I'm looking for big things from him. There's a couple really good grapplers in the middleweight division. I believe Roger Gracie is in the middleweight division now. Jacare obviously, and now Nato. So it's too bad Damian Maia wasn't still in the middleweight division. Otherwise, we would have some really awesome matchups to look forward to.
Everyone with the last name Gracie is on my shit list until Metamoris 3, and we will be talking about that a little later on in the show. Ray, what was your favorite moment of all the fights, excluding the Silva and Verdum victories?
I liked what Brooks said about Antonio Braga Neto. That was a really sick knee bar, and he actually released the hold before the ref got there because it was on that quick and that tight, and the guy was in that much pain, which I thought was good that he released the hold. I was gutted for Mike Wilkinson because obviously he's somebody that I've built up a relationship with having him on the show, so I was really sad to see him lose.
Wait, you're having a relationship with Mike Wilkinson?
Fuck you, bitch. I was gutted to see him lose. But the one that impressed me the most, I have to say, was Eric Silva. I mean, Jason High is no joke. But Eric Silva this guy is going to fight for a title. There's no doubt about it in my mind. I mean, even his fight with John Fitch was a really back and forth fight up until he kind of gassed. He couldn't keep up with Fitch's tempo. But for me, I'd even go as far to say that Silva's a future world champion. I think he's that good. I really enjoyed watching Eric Silva fight. I always look forward to him fighting.
Yeah, he has had the occasional hiccup, but the guy is exceptionally young. I'm pulling up his thing now. Yeah, he's 28, he did have the hiccup against Fitch, But, I mean, that was the fight of the night at UFC 153, and Fitch is a hell of a fighter, so having a hiccup against Fitch, not really something to stress on too much. All right, I know Jay's excited to get to this topic. His boy, Thiago Silva, taking on fellow knockout artist Rafael Cavalcante. We knew one of them was going to get knocked out in the first round, and it was Rafael. Thiago Silva getting the KO via punches, and in typical sportsmanlike manner, as the referees and doctors attended to Cavalcante, Silva did his little sleeping act, and then flicked him off, which I don't like. Like, I get the sleeping thing, it's funny, I laughed when I saw it, but then flicking him off, it was sort of like when he knocked out Keith Jardine, which I believe was his most recent UFC win before this last one this weekend. He did beat two other guys, but both of those wins were turned over. It was his first official win since Keith Jardine, and both fights, it's just like he's angry at the guy he knocked out. Like, chill, man, you knocked him out. It's okay. It's all over. So Silva going out with sportsmanlike fashion, as he always seems to do. What did you think of the fight? And before we talk about all this Bigfoot nonsense, what do you think is next for Thiago Silva? Personally, I would, people are talking about wanting to see a Silva versus Silva match. They want to see Thiago versus Bigfoot. I want to see a Silva versus Silva match, but it's not that one. It's Thiago Silva versus Vanderlei Silva. Vanderlei's looking for a fight. The Sonnen fight never materialized. Sonnen's now booked to fight Shogun Rua in August. That would be stylistically so fun to watch. Thiago Silva, Vanderlei Silva, and I might actually pick Vanderlei in that one. I don't know. Brooks, what did you think of the fight, and who should Thiago Silva face next?
I thought the fight was awesome. I guess you're a little upset about him flipping off Cavalcante after the fight, but I thought it was funny. He's just a bad motherfucker. He comes in, he doesn't give a shit. He's there to kick your ass, and that's that. Some of these fighters have respect after the fight and all that. It doesn't bother me either way. But yeah, I love the fight. It was a back and forth for as long as it lasted. I think Thiago broke Cavalcante's will. Well, he hit that spinning back elbow and it nailed him right on the chin, and it didn't even faze Silva. He came out after that happened. It was like he was done. He knew he couldn't do anything. But I'd like to see, Vanderlei versus Thiago would be just fucking awesome. That would be crazy. I can't even. I hope they put that together. But another fight I would like to see is Glover Teixeira versus Thiago Silva. I think Glover is. I think he's 4-0 in the UFC now. So I don't know if that's a matchup they'd want to put together right now, seeing as maybe they want to put Glover up against someone higher up in the rankings. But I think Thiago would be 3-1 or something like that if those contests didn't get overturned by the commission. So, it would be a little more appropriate, I guess, if he didn't have those no contest on his record. But Glover Teixeira versus Thiago Silva, you can't tell me that wouldn't be a fucking war. And they both got great striking, and they both got good ground games. So I think they match up really well. That's a fight that I would like to see.
Yeah, the guy before his most recent win, Thiago, he was 1-3-2 in his last 6 fights. But you look at the record, all right, it should be 3-3 because he did beat Vera and Nedkov. And you look at the 3 guys he lost to, it's the who's who of the 205. It's Lyoto, Rashad, and Gustafsson. Silva is not a slouch, and a lot of people would be barking saying that Thiago doesn't deserve a fight against Glover, which he probably doesn't, but stylistically I would love to see the fight, and I think Thiago might challenge Glover more than the average UFC fan expects, the average MMA fan expects. Ray?
It was a good fight. Thiago Silva was just a league above Cavalcante, which is we've seen quite a lot of Strikeforce guys come over and kind of blow us away, but he couldn't keep up with him. And once he got up against the cage and he was landing those punches, it was just a matter of time before he dropped. But Thiago Silva did look good. But obviously, is it a win? Has he passed his drugs test yet? Because is this one going to be overturned? So who knows what's going to happen with Thiago? He's a fantastic fighter, but he needs to sort his head out with regards to whatever stuff he's taking to get himself ready for fights, because it's clearly not right what he's doing, because he keeps having these contests overturned. With regards to who he could fight next, I like both the names you've mentioned. If I was to pick one out of them two, I'd probably go for Glover, because I think that would be a really interesting matchup stylistically. I think maybe he could be a bit too big and heavy for Vanderlei, which is why I think the Glover fight would be better. But another name, I know we're just putting names in there, but another good matchup for him, I think, would be Ryan Bader. He's a guy that likes to stand, and I think Thiago Silva, Ryan Bader would be a good fight as well.
Man, there's a lot of things I've got to cover here. I've got to say, first of all, thank you very much to the betting shops for putting Thiago Silva as the underdog. I want to say thanks to Cavalcante for, he must have pulled a muscle in his back or something. When he threw that spinning back fist, the spinning back elbow, that was it. He was gone. Something obviously happened there. Everything. He must have had an adrenaline dump. Something happened after he pulled that. I mean, Brooks said that he lost his heart or something. He lost his will. His will just disappeared. Definitely something happened following that elbow. We haven't heard any excuses yet, but after that, Thiago just pulled it on. As for the celebration and the flipping him off, whatever, man. This guy, Cavalcante, is also a drug user, so Thiago Silva is fighting for his job. We've seen Bigfoot Silva, after he knocked out Overeem, he's doing the whole trying to chase him, and Herb Dean had to drag him away. At least Silva goes away from his opponent. You know, when Keith Jardine, after he knocked out Keith Jardine, he just stood there. It's not a question of anybody needing to pull him away. He's just having a bit of fun. What's next for Thiago Silva? I like the Vanderlei fight only because Vanderlei's chin is not very good, so Thiago's almost guaranteed the knockout. The Bader fight interests me, but I don't know. I think that Ryan Bader needs an opponent. He's been out for a while now, it feels. And Glover, I've got to agree, actually. I've got to say that he is not quite at that level yet, whereby he's not at the level Glover's won, 3, 4 in the UFC now. Thiago's 3-3. He needs to get a couple of wins back. I think the Vanderlei fight is very interesting because you have two very, very aggressive fighters. Two guys, one guy who likes to think he's the biggest guy in the world, and that is Thiago Silva, and you like this Vanderlei guy who always just comes forward. He's always giving you it all. He just gets on your nerves, and these two, they would just exchange. Neither of them would really stop. The other thing I've got to say about this fight, Thiago was the best he's looked in a while. I know that Gustafsson is now officially fighting John Jones. I would like to see Thiago Silva versus Alexander Gustafsson on Thiago Silva's home soil. Now that his ring rust is faded off and all that, I want to see how he fares there. See what Gustafsson's like out of his home country, where the whole crowd is booing him. When Thiago's not on the 1-year layoff, bring it on this time, Gustafsson.
Man, Alex is so crisp. I really don't see it going any other way. But you know, the whole home field advantage thing. We have seen a lot of guys thrive fighting in Brazil, and I'm thinking, has Thiago Silva fought in Brazil? I'm looking now. Yeah,
9-0. He's 9-0 in Brazil.
Before this Saturday. Yeah, this actually was his first UFC fight in Brazil, and he won it pretty impressively. His last fights before that, he actually was on the China card and the Sweden card, where he fought Gus.
I've heard that the testing is pretty lax over there in Brazil. That might have some.
And actually, that does transition pretty well into our first news topic that we'll get to after the main event and the bonehead of the week about TRT now being banned in California. How it's looking like the future of MMA. You're going to have some places that allow you to do shit and some places that don't. But we will get to that after the bonehead. But first, the main event, Fabricio Verdum submitting Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira halfway through the second round via armbar. Very similar to the Mir fight in that during their grappling and scrambles, you really could tell that both guys were high level. And I don't want to say Verdum has more MMA or more jiu-jitsu knowledge than Big Nog, but he's the more athletic, quicker, stronger guy, and he can get to the positions he wants to get to faster. And once again, just like the Mir fight, Big Nog loses via sub once again. Luckily, Nog tapped and didn't get his arm broken again. Before we talk about whether Nog should retire, etc., what was your thoughts on just the fight itself? Sugar Ray Thompson.
Sorry. The fight kind of went how I thought it would go in the sense of who was going to win. I didn't necessarily think he would submit him because Nogueira is...
Oh, I totally fucked up. Brooks just corrected me. We skipped something. The Bigfoot call out. What the fuck was that about? Bigfoot Silva, after Thiago wins, Bigfoot being a heavyweight, Thiago being a 205er, he jumps in saying he wants to fight a guy a weight class below him, and this isn't like when a lightweight talks shit to a featherweight and there's only 10 pounds separating them. There's 60 pounds between the light heavy and the heavies. Unless Bigfoot Silva cuts his leg off or something, I don't see him making it to 205. And Thiago, I mean, Bigfoot's sitting back saying that Thiago should fight at heavies. He hasn't had any problem cutting to 205, and I don't see any reason for him to move up other than to make you happy. So what was the deal? What is Bigfoot Silva smoking, Brooks?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know I don't know what the whole beef originates from. I guess, I know they were in the same camp and Thiago left, but I don't know if, beforehand he had banged Bigfoot's wife or some shit. I don't know. He obviously has some kind of issue, and like Jay was saying, he called Thiago mental, and I think
MMA mental.
Yeah, I think obviously Bigfoot's the one that's mental. It's a joke of a call out. If somehow, some way he could cut down to 205, he would be nearly dead by the time he made there, and Thiago wouldn't have any issue with it. He would knock him the fuck out fairly quickly. I have no clue. I don't know why he thinks it was appropriate to call out someone so much smaller than him.
I didn't get it either. It makes absolutely no sense to me. I mean, they're both good fighters in their own right. They're both fighters I enjoy watching. I'm not interested in seeing Thiago Silva fight Bigfoot Silva because there's, like you say, the weight difference between them is ridiculous. And they've got nothing to gain from it. What does Bigfoot gain from beating Thiago Silva? Absolutely nothing. What does Thiago Silva gain from going up to heavyweight and losing to Bigfoot? Absolutely nothing. I mean, the fight is absolutely ridiculous. There's no way if Thiago Silva's got any brains, there's no way he wants to fight heavyweight. Not when he's so competitive at 205. And there's no way Bigfoot can make 205. I mean, it's not like the guy's fat. The guy is packed with muscle. He can't lose that muscle in a healthy way. I don't understand it. Call out a heavyweight. It's a ridiculous call out.
That's what I tell my girlfriend when she says I need to lose weight. Jay?
I won't comment on this yet because I'm going to have a rant about it on the Bonehead of the Week, okay?
Bone, and that was the best sort of segue I could get. We have the Big Nog fight. Damn it, that would have been such a great segue. Oh well, Verdum.
You're letting the side down this week.
All over the place, man. What the fuck, cocksuckers? Big Nog versus Fabricio. What were your thoughts on the fight, Ray?
So are we talking about Bigfoot, the fight, or Bonehead?
We're talking about Big Nog versus Verdum, the fight. What did you think of it?
We're talking about Verdum calling out Thiago Silva.
We're talking about Verdum, who's going to be fighting Alexander Gustafsson in Toronto on September 21st. Let's get to the main event, cocksucker.
Okay. It was a good fight. I think most of us thought Verdum was going to win. I had Verdum to win, but I didn't have Verdum to win by submission because Nogueira's got a solid ground game. I thought it was interesting that he tapped rather than... I know he verbally tapped rather than get his arm break this time. I love the fact that Verdum showed him so much respect after the fight because I did watch the Ultimate Fighter Brazil. I watched it from start to finish, and there was no bad blood between them at all on the season. They were both so respectful of each other, and they both spoke highly of each other on the show. So I like when a fight's fought out like that because they are both two, true veterans of the sport. And obviously Nogueira was one of the standouts from Pride. So he deserves that respect. But he is past his best now. The fight played out the way I thought it was going to go. I enjoyed the fight. I'm interested to see where Verdum goes from here because I think he's right on in the top end of the division now.
The fight was interesting. The season of the TUF was it was a good season. I did like the back and forths between them, but yeah, they were very respectful of each other. Then the only guy who wasn't really that respectful in the season was Wanderlei Silva, arguing with his own team and crazy stuff like that. Some things to note, which is really weird. Ever since the Verdum versus Bigfoot fight, Verdum has looked really like he's putting a game plan together and sticking to it. Where he jabbed and just outstruck Antonio Silva. The Fedor fight where he slipped and just pulled it off instantly. The Overeem fight where, although it was boring, he stuck. He never at any stage let Overeem get comfortable. It made it for a very boring fight for the fans, but Overeem was outstruck. The takedowns kept coming. Although it was a boring fight, in terms of a game plan, if Verdum stood with him, he would have got knocked out. So in the end, he played a weird game plan, which made it boring for everybody to watch. But Verdum right now is looking like he knows what he's doing. The submission, fair play. Big Nog did actually call out the verbal submission. I'm pleased that he did.
Porfa.
Yeah, I'm glad. We don't need to see another armbar, but an armbar to submit Big Nog with an armbar, that is something, man. That's his own special move. This is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Fair play to Verdum. What's really funny about this is the Wikipedia says verbal submission. It doesn't say. It's just somebody's edited it and put W there, which makes it a bit whether they're playing on the Verdum thing, but whatever. I love the fight. I was just a bit upset, really, that Big Nog, he's got to retire now. His 2 wins, I think somebody said in 46 months, he's got a win over Brendan Schaub and a win over, who's the tall guy? Dave Herman. In 3-4 years, those were his only wins. It's not the best record anymore. Maybe you should hang him up.
Yeah, I can't hate on Nogueira too much, but we all knew coming into this fight that Verdum was probably going to win. I've always thought he was the better grappler. I don't know, maybe there were some people saying that they were equal in that area, but I've always known that Verdum was a better grappler. The striking, Verdum's Muay Thai, as I've said before, has come leaps and bounds and miles, and he's just looked nasty with his Muay Thai. And it's really time for Nogueira to just let it go. He's been in the game for a long time. He's done a lot of good things. He's been really successful, but he's only going to be able to beat the Dave Hermans and Brennan Chaubs. He's not going to be able to hang with the top guys. He can keep on going if he wants, but eventually he'll start losing to those Dave Hermans. They'll end up knocking him out too because his chin isn't what it used to be. I guess. He did a great job surviving in the first round against Verdum. Verdum mounted him pretty early. He survived. He came out in the second round, and just like you guys had said, I didn't predict a submission because even, I know that Verdum's above him in the submission game. I thought that he's got good enough submission defense to be able to hold that off. I figured that Verdum would knock him out with some knees, but, Verdum, I think he's in his prime right now. I don't think that he's ever been better. I think this is his time right now to do whatever he can to get the title. And I know he's probably next in line after JDS to get the title shot. So, I'm impressed by Verdum. I think this is his time right now. And Nogueira is probably his time to just hang him up.
Yeah, and that actually is the next topic I want to talk about. Should Nog retire? But first, we got a late addition into the show, a fan favorite. I'll let him plug his shit really quick because it's always entertaining when he does so. What is the word on the street?
What's happening, gentlemen? Sorry I'm late to the fucking party here. Look, just follow the Ant Jimmy Show on Twitter. You're going to hear some crazy-ass shit coming up on Tuesday here. We are going to, hopefully by the end of the show, legalize MMA in New York. That's the word on the street.
Word on the street. Can we talk about the guests we're planning on having on?
Yeah, actually, it's going to be Jennifer. I'm not sure how to pronounce the last name. Bonjean. It's probably French or something. I don't know. She is an attorney over there in New York. She's working with the UFC on the whole legalization case. She's a Uriah Hall's attorney, I believe, as well. She's going to be on the show. We're going to hash it all out. We're going to go through it. I'm right now. I'm just I have a couple days to become an expert at law, which shouldn't be any problem. I am a genius. So tune in, guys. Yeah.
Oh shit! I was just talking. I was going on a rant, and I look over. I was like, "Why did Ramsey say yeah?" Oh, because I'm fucking muted.
You're on fire today, Jakey.
Yeah, son. I'm pulling a J Jeans. You can fucking call my ass J Jeans. No, but the word on the street, late night Tuesdays and Thursdays. Follow us on Twitter at the MMA Podcast or the Aunt Jimmy Show to see when we're going live. We've had some crazy interviews recently, from Marina Shafir, Ronda Rousey to Bob Sapp. It's been a lot of fun. And shout out to Coach Jamie Huey, who's also a host on the show. Let's get back to where we were, though. Big Nog versus Verdum. Simply put, should Big Nog hang him up? Ramsey, I'll add you in after Brooks. And, what do you think, Ray?
If he still wanted to fight, I'd still like to see him fight. He's not a top tier heavyweight anymore. But if he was to retire, he goes out as one of the best heavyweight fighters of all time.
Yeah, I think he should hang him up. He can't hang with the people he used to hang with, and right now the heavyweight division is stacking up wins over Brendan Schaub and wins over Dave Herman. Yeah, mate, I think Dave Herman, if he hasn't been cut, he's probably on the verge of being cut, and Brendan Schaub is the same. I don't have the official statistics, but I think it is something around the lines of 46 months since he's beaten anybody. It really significant, and that's 4 years. I need to go and check these figures, but I think that's about right.
Sounds like Thiago Silva.
Yeah, but he's just got to win. Big Nog, his wins his wins just aren't the same. I don't know who they can give him, who's even a good fight. Maybe he should do what Ric Flair did for the WWE, which is the next time he loses, he retires, just so then it throws it up. And if he gets some wins, fair play, everybody will be watching that story.
Yeah, I agree. I want to see, I agree with the whole Ric Flair analogy where he fights one more time and if he loses, he's out. But the only because I want to see him fight Stefan Struve, and I think that would be a good win for Stefan Struve, and it would be a fairly decent matchup. But other than that, I'm ready for this guy to go. It seems like every time he loses, he comes up with another excuse. Who knows? He hasn't come up with one yet, or at least I haven't heard it. But I'm sure it'll come out. And he fucking pulled Tito Ortiz. He might have had a cracked fucking skull. I don't know.
Yeah, Big Nog is done. He should have been done.
I don't know. I'm just ready for the...
Oh, he's like fading
Brooks,
in and out.
Yeah, Brooks, it sounds like you're fading in and out a little bit there. I don't know. Hope your connection's better next time you talk. Ramses, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, Big Nog, man. I think he's fucking done. He should have been done when Frank Mir tore his arm off that first time. They reattached it. Good for him, but he pushed it. And he should have tapped this time. It's that Brazilian pride fucking with him. In case you didn't hear the news, his elbow did break. The ligament was torn in half. He's having surgery on Friday. That arm is... Come on, it's going to be useless if he doesn't pull out right now. Quit fighting, Nog. You're a one-armed man at this point. It's kind of sad. But he was a warrior in his time. Always give him credit for that. But someone's got to make this guy stop. He's got to stop. That's what I got to say.
It's a shame Nog and Nick Newell aren't at the same weight class. That'd be a great fight. I'd have 2 hours between them.
Yeah, right. Jesus Christ. Ray with the dark joke. All right, finally, before we get to the bonehead, we talked about what's next for Big Nog. What's next for the winner, Fabricio Verdum? He's definitely up there in the title picture. You obviously have Kane and JDS who will be fighting each other a third time. There's not really that long of a line at the heavies, so I would say he takes on maybe the winner of Overeem Brown. The last loss, or the only loss Verdum has, I think, since '08 was that embarrassing Strikeforce. I don't even want to call it a fight against Overeem. Somebody's calling my ass. It's craziness here in St. Pete. What's next for Fabricio? Ray? These motherfuckers need to stop calling my ass.
I'd be more than happy to see Verdum get the next title shot against the winner of Kane and JDS. I think he's pretty much well established himself now as the next contender. I'm not that bothered about seeing him facing the winner of Brown Overeem personally. I wouldn't mind seeing him rematching Roy Nelson, just because Roy Nelson's looked a lot better since their last fight, and maybe they get that's obviously if Nelson beats Miocic, which I think he will, and the winner of that get the title fight. So for me, it's either Verdum gets the next title fight, or if Roy Nelson beats Miocic, then Verdum and Nelson fight in a one contender match. That would be my two options.
Man, I'm not personally interested in seeing Roy Nelson rematch. That was only what, less than 18 months ago, and Roy Nelson that was Roy Nelson's probably one of his worst fights in the UFC. I guess maybe the Frank Mir fight, but he had no answer to the knees. He couldn't get within the reach. Verdum kind of revamped his UFC career with that win, and that was after his loss, the slow paced fight with Overeem. I think Verdum is next. I personally am more interested in Verdum Kane than I am JDS Kane right now, only because JDS is only coming off one win over a guy who wasn't even really ranked properly in the top 5, whereas Verdum has been in the top 5 for a while, since the win over Roy Nelson. Or since at least Overeem got knocked out by who was it? It was Bigfoot. So yeah, I think that fight interests me more. And there's nobody else in the division who really, after JDS and Verdum, that's it for the division really. Unless you want to rush somebody like Brown into a title fight, then that's it for me. That's it. So I think maybe give JDS another win, maybe give him the winner of Overeem Brown, and put Verdum in there. That's my feelings. Just because Verdum right now, it's just a more interesting fight for me anyway.
Yeah, I'm not sure who they should match him up with. If I were him, I would probably wait for the title shot, but we had, someone like Johnny Hendricks down at welterweight who had
Brooks Bailey, that motherfucker.
He took a very dangerous fight against Carlos Condit and ended up winning that to stay on track. So I don't know if Verdum should do something like that, and maybe he could fight a rematch with Alistair Overeem if he beats Travis Brown, or maybe he could fight Josh Barnett if he beats Frank Mir. I don't know how far out that fight is, if it would be the appropriate timing or anything, but I'd like to see Barnett versus Verdum or Overeem versus Verdum in a rematch, because I think Verdum has a better chance this time around. But I'm not sure who else he could fight. Like I said myself, I'd wait for a title shot.
Yeah. Well, I honestly want to see Verdum rematch Overeem. I think that's the one that needs to happen. That's the only one I would care enough to pay money to see. Someone did ask Dana White at the scrum earlier today, what's next for Verdum. He said definitely not a title shot. He'd like to see this guy just fight a few more people before that even becomes a possibility. And I do agree with that. So Verdum versus Overeem, man. I mean, at this point, Overeem does need that layup fight. Hopefully he gets past this next one, but he's got to get accustomed to his new body, if you know what I'm saying. So give him a couple layup fights. That's what I say. Word on the street.
Word on the street. It is time for the Bonehead of the Week, where we choose our biggest boneheads, who we think made the dumbest move, who said the dumbest thing this week. And let's play the music and get it going, gentlemen. Bum, 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 bum. All right, my bonehead of the week. It's a pretty simple, and it's hard to draw a line here, but it's Josh Thompson for saying that gay marriage is like incest or pedophilia. And look, my issue is not him having this view. I know a lot of people, most of my family actually, very religious, and their religious tenets don't go with that. And if you don't support gay marriage, even though I do, we don't have any issue. It's two things that sort of rub me the wrong way. A, saying that gay marriage opens the door to like bestiality, and my cousin, I was actually having a back and forth with him recently, and he said, well, if gays can get married, then who says that pedophilia should be illegal? It's like, dude, are you seriously trying to match up a loving mutual marriage to a pedophile? Which I'm not going to get on that rant. But look, if you're in the main public eye, if you're a politician, if you're an athlete, we learned this with Adrian Peterson recently, you can have those views, and that's fine. But it's when you start running your mouth. Just keep your mouth quiet. And look, it is kind of fun. It's funny to me. In reality, it's fucked up how it used to be. If you were gay, you couldn't talk about it because that was the cultural norm. And if you said you were gay, people would be like, eh. And now it's the opposite. If you're anti-gay now, you have to stay quiet because if you say anything, a lot of people are going to be like, eh. So, the pendulum is definitely swung in that way. And if you haven't realized it and you're still running your mouth, look, believe whatever you want to believe. Just keep your mouth closed, Josh Thompson. You're my bonehead of the week. Jay?
That is justifiable, man. But for me, Bigfoot, first of all, this whole story is a joke. Bigfoot I believe he's been popped once before for drug abuse or whatever. Then he had a massive go at old Overeem. Now he's calling Thiago Silva mentally sick. So the first thing...
MMA mentally sick.
Yes, well, whatever. MMA mentally sick then. So you've been popped before for it, and now you're calling out. Somebody's saying they're mentally sick for even taking drugs. And mentally sick. So he's hypocritical. The next thing he does, Thiago Silva's like, well, whatever, man. I'll only bother replying to you if you want to come down to 205. Bigfoot then goes to his doctor. He's checking with his medical consultants. I don't know what it is down in Brazil. Is it the witch doctors or something? Whatever. He goes there and he's going to check whether they will medically clear him to cut to 205. Now, as far as I'm aware, he's the only heavyweight left who actually cuts down from a weight above 265 to actually get cut down. I know that Mark Hunt weighs in at 263. But I think Bigfoot weighs in normally about 280, so he's planning on dropping down, 75 odd pounds to fight Thiago Silva, just because apparently he's mentally sick, and yet that's hypocritical in its own right.
Mentally sick.
So in fact, I hope he does come down. I hope he drains himself to the point of dehydration. When he finally gets in the cage, he just passes out when the timekeeper starts the clock, so Thiago Silva can just go walk up to him and poke him, and he's already out cold. Whatever, man. This guy's pathetic. He's hypocritical. He's an idiot, and I hope he comes down to 205 because, man,
whatever, man.
This guy's a joke.
My bonehead of the week is. Can you hear me?
Yeah, someone's not muted. I'm hearing a little reverb.
Is everyone muted now?
Sounds like it.
My bonehead of the week is Carlos Vermola. This guy is a UFC fighter. And I think one of the biggest things about any fighters, and I speak to, like we all do, I speak to a lot of fighters, it's cardio. I know guys that work a full-time job and fight, and they get paid a pittance compared to what Carlos Vermola gets paid, and they can fight for 15-25 minutes. Vermola comes out for the UFC, which is the biggest promotion in the world. People would cut their right arm off through where he is, and he fights for 4 minutes, and then he's out of gas. I just don't understand why at that level a fighter isn't able to fight for longer. I mean, even 10 minutes, but 4 minutes, I just think it's shocking. My question is, did he even train for the fight? I just can't get my head around 4 minutes cardio. So for going into a UFC fight in Brazil, the biggest promotion in the world, with 4 minutes cardio, my bonehead of the week is Carlos Vermola.
Brooks?
Sorry,
my
my
shit's fucked up.
Yeah, my shit fucked up. But hopefully you guys can hear me. Can you hear me?
Coming through fine.
All right. Anyway, so my bonehead of the week is Brendan Schaub. He was at Metamoris and just fucking embarrassed himself. He didn't want to apparently be there. I don't know why he signed up. He says he was worried about injuring himself, but you know, obviously you shouldn't have fucking signed up if you were worried about that. You know, he looked like shit against whoever that big fucker is he fought in his last fight in the UFC. He looked like shit at Metamoris. I don't know what he wants to do. He should have just did what he did in his last UFC fight at Metamoris and just fucking laid on top of him or whatever he was doing. But if you're gonna fucking sign up, go out there and do something. Don't be an asshole and piss everybody off. That's why Brendan Schaub's my bonehead this week.
Interesting. My bonehead of the week. A lot of people are gonna be like, "What the fuck?" It's Rashad Evans, people. I don't know how many people, how many of you out there listened to his interview on the Opie and Anthony show this week. There was something wrong with him. Something is going on with this guy. All right, they were like, "Hey, we saw you, this the other week on some sort of Discovery TV show or something where it's like warriors versus modern day people or something like that." And he was like, "What?" And they were like, "Yeah, the show. You were going up against some famous figure or something." And he was like, "Oh yeah, I was there." And they were like, "What did you do for the show?" And he was like, I don't know." And then one of the hosts who obviously just did the research was like, "You threw a spear through a boar." And he was like, "Oh yeah, I threw a spear through a boar. That's right."
What?
Right, he couldn't even how do you forget something like that? So that was a little scary, all right, people. And I'm about ready to declare him punchy. All right, there's something going on here. He looks great though. He's cut, man. He tweeted out a picture last night. He's ripped and ready to go, but I'm wondering what he's doing to himself to get there, man. Something wasn't right. And just based on that interview alone, listen to it, I'm going with Dan Henderson. But Rashad, man, what are you doing, man? What are you doing to yourself, man? You sounded like a bonehead in that interview. So for that reason alone, you are my bonehead of the week.
I'd eat beef brisket off that beautiful six-pack of abs. No homo. Man, this is an impressive group of boneheads. A good one before we send it out for a summer break and come back next month. But I think I gotta go with Brandon Schaub, Brooks' entry. That just, to sign up for something and then be there and then not want to be there, it just shows utter incompetence in making plans and being an adult and living your life. I mean, seriously, there's no greater sign. Brandon Schaub, you are my bonehead.
These are some interesting ones. I mean, you had Ramses, who all I really heard from it is he saw Rashad topless or something on Twitter, and that's all I really got from it. I know that the Brandon Schaub thing was a joke, where he's just patting him on the head. What a joker, man. Jake's is very much what I stand for. I'm open to anything, and Josh Thompson has just been an idiot, but I'm quite a fan of Josh Thompson. So for me, I'm actually going with Ray. You got to have cardio when you walk into these events. Cardio is not the hardest thing to grasp a hold of. You've got to go for 15 minutes. 15. You can train for this stuff. I can understand when you gas out after 10, or even when you gas out after you hit the stool, because a lot of times fighters, they like to run 15-minute sprints or whatever, so their body's not quite used to the all of a sudden sit down and relax for a minute. You got that with Shane Carwin, but this guy was gassed. It wasn't even halfway through a fight. What a joke. So for that reason, my bonehead pick, I would say, is Ray and Carlos Vermola.
My bonehead pick is going to be for a fighter I actually like. I like Josh Thompson, but to come out and compare gay marriage with paedophilia, I just think it's absolutely ridiculous. What goes on between 2% adults is completely different. So for that reason and for that ignorance, I'm picking Josh Thompson as my bonehead.
I'm going to go with Bigfoot. That shit's ridiculous. I've never heard such a ridiculous call out before. You're fucking 300 pounds. You're challenging a guy that's 60 pounds less than you on a good day. I don't know. Like I said, he fucked his wife or something. He had to. He's pissed. Whatever. I'd like to see Tiago go up and knock him out anyway. But you're an asshole, Bigfoot.
Looks like Ramses will be the deciding vote.
Well, people, I'm gonna have to pick Ray Thompson.
Pick like actually pick Ray, or are you going with Carlos Benoit?
Sorry, I meant Ray's brother, Josh. Josh Thompson is the bonehead of the week, people. I don't know if you guys are any relation. You certainly, Ray, you don't want to admit to it right now. That's for damn sure.
Bastard.
I did. Yeah, no, Josh Thompson for sure. Even if you agree with him, it's fucking stupid to say it, man. What the hell? There's a code here. You're not supposed to let that hate shine. Come on, man. Get it together. Josh Thompson.
For sure. Josh Thompson, you are our bonehead of the week. Look, if you want to have those beliefs, it's not bad to have them. Just keep your fucking mouth shut about them, all right, kid? And Thompson is our bonehead of the week. We got a lot of news to break down, so I guess we'll try and go through this at a semi-moderate clip. But we'll start off. Pardon my voice; it's starting to slip again. These fucking allergies, son. This Florida pollen, it's killing me. All right, TRT now prohibited in California. Does this make any sense? And what kind of a precedence does this set? I mean, now are you going to have certain areas where we don't see certain fighters because TRT is banned? They are going to grandfather in people who already have medical exemptions, like your Dan Hendersons and Chael Sonnens, but they're not going to make any more exemptions for it. California really kind of taking a hard stand, very similar to what they did during the whole Sonnen trial and hearing and everything. This is setting unsettling precedents. TRT has made it a long way in the public eye since Nate Marquardt got cut from the UFC for being on it. Now, I thought we were going in a positive direction, but this is a giant step back. If not for MMA, then for the CSAC, in that they're going to see less fights because more fighters are getting on TNT and they're banning it. What do you think, Jay?
The situation is crazy, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, guys, but isn't weed is legal in California, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Then why the hell?
It's not legal, but it's decriminalized. Currently in the U.S., it's only legal, quote unquote, in Colorado and Washington.
Exactly.
You can walk into a store and buy it, so effectively, yes.
Exactly, that's what I mean. So why this state, out of every state, is the wrong state to be making this stand? And all it really means is somebody like Vitor Belfort is not going to head on over there. And unless all the states do it at once, it just looks a bit off-putting to anybody who might consider on that card. So any Californians, such as P Money, he won't be seeing Vitor Belfort ever fight there. Not because of the exemption, but it might be regulated more heavily. So it's small things like that. So I know you've got your Dan Hendersons and all that lot who are okay to fight over there, but still it's going to be a lot stricter and a lot more moderated. So no, it doesn't make any sense quite yet unless all the athletic commissions do it at once.
I don't think this issue is going anywhere anytime soon. I know it's like beating a dead horse and it's old, but it's just there's going to be people on both sides of the fence on this all the time. And just like, you guys are kind of, okay with the TRT exemptions. Myself, I'm actually not. I think it's way too easy to abuse. I just think it's way too. It's just a complicated issue. I think someone like Vitor Belfort, which I'm not even sure can get exemptions in the U.S. anymore, considering he had failed steroids in the past. But I'm happy that California has just said we're not gonna fall into this. And I think it's kind of falling in line with other sports. I know that baseball is cracking down now. Apparently I don't know if it already happened or if it's supposed to happen, but there's like a huge fucking 50-player list of people that are supposed to be getting suspended. And, I think it'll mean a lot if other states start to follow suit with California also. And I guess I'm not an expert on it, and the TE ratios as high as you can go is 6-1. Is a normal person 6-1 or is a normal person 1-1? And because that 6-1, that just if that's the way it is, the 6-1 is just making letting you have an advantage basically from cheating from using a steroid. So myself, I don't agree with the whole TRT use. There's a lot of fighters that I love to watch that obviously use it, but I say good on California. I'd rather the sport be all natural. Fuck, if you're getting old, you're getting old. What can you do? You've done what you can along the way in your career, and that's that. So, I'm glad California is setting this precedent, and I personally hope that the rest of the athletic commissions will follow behind them.
Yeah, well, this one was a little confusing at first. It threw me for a loop, but I think I pretty much have it figured out. The writing's on the wall. There's a lot of pressure coming on Uncle Dana to do something about the TRT. That's all the media bitches about. He's probably sick of it. And, of course, UFC is always moving to become a more legitimate sport, professional sport, if you will. If you're going to start something like this, you're going to start in the biggest state, right? And, obviously, UFC doesn't have New York. So here's California. They're going to kick it off. You're going to see other state commissions fall in line. TRT's probably going to be a little bit more heavily regulated, but at the end of the day, you can just move whichever fighters you want to like an overseas card. You can fight in any other country where it's just where anything goes. Come on, let's be real. UFC is just playing it smart here, in my opinion.
Playing that shit very so. Wait, I cut off Ray. Ray, I haven't been on point. What's wrong with me, man? I'm slipping, Ray.
You're not slipping. You've slipped.
I've slipped, Ray. I've slipped.
On vacation.
I've fallen.
You've already started packing and moving, haven't you?
I'm fallen and I can't get up, Sugar Ray.
My views. I'll be honest with you. I've never really fully understood why TRT is bad. I understand what it is. I've never really understood the benefits or the effect it has by having it or not having it. But the big thing that jumps out to me with regards to this is the inconsistency. And this is one of the things you get, not just with regards to this subject, but with any subject within the US, because it seems to be governed by 50-odd different places depending on where you go. Coming from the UK, I know we're a lot smaller. If I'm in London or if I'm in Coventry, the law's the same regardless. But where it's not necessarily the same in America. You're in California or you're in Texas, the rules are different. And I just think that's the biggest thing that I find that confuses me here is the inconsistency, how it can be wrong in one place and yet right in the other. And you touched there obviously on the weed subject. So the biggest thing that jumps out to me is inconsistency. We need one rule. It should be one rule across all, not one rule here and one rule there. So the biggest thing I want to see, regardless of what the topic is that there's consistency across all of the states in the US with regards to TRT.
Yeah, fucking Texas may as well be its own country. If you've ever visited, you know what I'm talking about. Ramsey knows what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. Next topic I want to get to. Jones versus Alex Gustafsson, now official. They will be fighting apparently at UFC 165 in September in Toronto. Toronto sort of turning into a new home away from home for John Jones until they legalize it in New York. This will be now 3 of his last 5 fights, all being in Toronto. He fought Vitor, Lyoto, and now Alex, all in one of the biggest venues the UFC knows. Obviously, that St. Pierre Shields fight still just towers over every other card as far as attendance goes. I think 55,000 people were at St. Pierre Shields, and number 2 is like 21,000. I mean, it was over twice the amount of people. Fucking craziness. But it looks like Jones will be fighting Alex Gus in Toronto. The question, it's very simple. What % chance does Alex Gustafsson have to win? And, I could see any guess around maybe 10 to even maybe 30%. He is going to be a heavy underdog, but he definitely has a chance. I call him the Dominic Cruz of the 205s because he has great footwork, loves to pop in and pop out. But I'm going to start it with a pretty controversial call. My call, what percent chance does Gustafsson have to beat John Jones? 0. Ramses?
I agree with you, man. 0% chance. He will not win. Let's face it. Nobody's going to buy an Alexander Gustafsson pay-per-view. Nobody. All right? Nobody wants to see that. So he's not going to win. They're not going to let him. He owes the UFC a favor. All right? What's the favor? Gustafsson versus Musali. The big event over there that he fucking blew in his homeland. The UFC ain't going to forget that. He's probably just lucky. He's thinking, God, that they even gave him a title fight, all right? But they're going to come to him. Somebody's going to make that phone call, all right? He knows what he has to do. He's got to spar with John Jones. John Jones coming off of what you might think is a minor injury. No, that shit's pretty major. He's not going to be doing shit in the gym. He hasn't been for a long time. So, yeah, this is going to be a little warm-up fight for him, just a little tune-up. Gustafsson is just going to, no matter what, they're going to maybe try to make it look good, but John Jones is going to win because they won't let Gustafsson fight this man. Not for real. That's my opinion.
Talking about percentages, I'm interested to know from Ramses, what percentage chance does Chael Sonnen have of winning against John Jones?
Shit.
99.2.
Honestly, I would have given it 40 to 50%. I would have gone 40% to be honest. I mean, I'm not surprised by how the fight was going. I will admit that right now, but it was an early stoppage.
Yeah, if you asked me truthfully before Jones Sonnen, I would say Sonnen had a 30% chance to win.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to put Ramses on the spot because I'm a bitch like that.
Yeah, you are a bitch like that.
Ray Thompson.
That's for getting me with trying to give me a fake vote earlier on. I'll give him a 10% chance. I mean, it's very hard to see who beats John Jones at the minute, and it's the same in pretty much all the divisions. You've got a dominant guy at the top, but yeah, I'll give him a 10% chance. I think he has got a puncher's chance, if you like. We've seen him knock people out. Not necessarily the higher tier people. He has got good footwork, but Jones seems to me on another level to anybody in that division. So I'll stick with 10.
It's really interesting you bring up percentages in this, because I did at one stage give Machida, and I still do give Machida the highest chance in the division at around about 25%. I give most of the rest of the division about 2%. I give Dan Henderson 5%. Evans, I did at one stage give him a 15%, but he's looked like a pile of trash these days. I probably give Gustafsson, I'd say around about a 12% chance. I don't see it happening. He's got to outstrike him, which he is capable of doing, but the wrestling, Gustafsson's wrestling just is not there. If Jones wants it up against the wall, he's got it there. If he wants it on the floor, all he's got to do is find a way, which won't be hard for him. All he's got to do is clinch up and throw him over his head, and that'll be that. Cormier's the other interesting one. I think maybe I give him 15% chance, but Gustafsson's got his work cut out in this fight, man.
I gotta agree with Jake and Ramses here. I'm gonna give him a 0% chance of winning this fight. It's just there's nobody on the level of John Jones in the light heavyweight division unless Cormier drops down to light heavyweight. That could be interesting. I guess I'm counting out Dan Henderson a little bit early too, because everybody knows if he lands, it's all over. But yeah, I'm giving him a 0% chance. This fight doesn't even really interest me. But whatever, I'll watch it. I might not pay to watch it. I'll fucking catch a stream or something, but 0%.
Interesting note there, then. With all five of us have given percentages.
Answer.
Sorry, Brooks went. I thought he'd finished. All five of us have given us percentages there. So the average there for us is 4.4% chance between the five of us.
Yikes. That is...
That's probably about realistic, though, to be honest.
Honestly, it probably is. I mean, Jones has been just so dominant a champion. I don't see any way Gus is able to find a way. I mean, like how is Gus gonna beat him? The only way I see Gus being able to beat him is by a judge's nod, and the only way that that happens is if Jones, one of the more aggressive guys we've ever seen, just is completely a shell of himself. I mean, Gus, I don't see Gus being able to sub Jones. I don't see Gus being able to knock out Jones, and I don't see any way it goes to a judge's nod. I mean, when a fighters fight, I try and picture how X guy would win if he did win, and I just can't picture any scenario where Alexander Gustafsson comes out the winner. And that sounds like you motherfuckers agree with me. You agree with me so much you're speechless.
I was wondering. What were the average percent? What was the average percent rate?
4.4%.
So if we were to handicap this, if we were the motherfuckers handicapping this bet, I wonder what that would translate into as far as the odds go. Like,
I mean, honestly, we'll probably see the odds come out similar to Son and Jones. Gus will probably be plus 700, plus 800. And,
I think they'll be better. Gustafsson, there are ways. You said he won't be able to knock him out, but if he really wanted, if Jones is an idiot, which, if you look at the Jones-Sonnen fight, there was very little chance that Sonnen would have been able to. There's little chance he was going to be able to take him down. Whereas Gustafsson versus Jones begins where Gustafsson wants it, and the chance that he can knock him out is high. I mean, he knocked out Hamill. All he has to do is keep it at the distance. It is more doable than Sonnen. Sonnen had less chance, and Sonnen's only way he's winning that fight is if he got it down. And the fight doesn't begin there. Gustafsson's got more of a chance than Sonnen ever had.
MMA math. Gustafsson knocked out Hamill. Hamill knocked out Jones. Gustafsson over Jones is the official call of the MMA podcast. Let's move on. Roy Nelson. His contract is going to be over after UFC 161. He has been a thorn in Dana's side. They've been going back and forth. Obviously, Roy's annoyed with Dana in the UFC, saying he'll never get a title shot no matter what he does. Dana and the UFC are just as annoyed with him, saying, I think I've heard Dana White say that Roy Nelson is stupid like a couple dozen times, obviously saying that, he could get a title shot if he could beat a top 5 guy. Going back and forth, the contract's over, and our boy Ross Finkelstein last night on the MMA podcast made a good point. Roy Nelson is managed by Mike Kogan, who may as well work in the Bellator front office. Kogan also manages Rampage Jackson. We saw what happened to Jackson, or it's him or Lawal, and that's not racist that I mixed the two up. But he manages one of them, brought him over to Bellator. Kogan's a Bellator guy. He manages Nelson with all this bad blood between the UFC and Nelson. I would not be shocked if this is Nelson's last fight in the UFC. I mean, he's already tricked himself that he can't win the UFC belt. He's justified it this way and that way. He's telling himself the UFC won't ever let him get it, but in his mind he knows that he'll never be the top 5 guy, at least as long as he still has that belly hanging off him. So Nelson, I think has convinced himself he'll never be UFC champ. So I really think this is Nelson's last hurrah before he runs off to Bellator. Ray, what do you think?
I hope you're wrong. I really like watching Nelson fight. I think he's a great fighter. He's exciting. Yeah, he hasn't got the physique he should probably have, but in most of his fights he's got cardio for 15 minutes. There's only been a few where he hasn't, and that was Verdum and Frank Mir, where he looked really bad in those fights. Normally he looks good for 15 minutes. I want to see him win this fight, get one big fight against a higher ranked opponent, and then if he wins that, then get a title fight. I am a big country fan.
I don't think he's leaving at all. I think he said he'd happily step in for the JDS fight, and Dana and the boys, although they might not like that, they've given him a bone here. They've given him a guy who, again, he can knock out. He's on a 3-fight winning streak. They've given him, on this 3-fight winning streak, they've given him 2 Knockout of the Night awards. The money is rolling his way. He's got the TUF contract as well. So all they're going to do, they might not up his contract that much, but the money is there for him, especially with another opponent who he could easily knock out and take away yet another bonus. I mean, he's won 3 bonuses in the last 4 fights. I think he's on if he wins 3 fights, he's on the TUF winner's contract, so I'm not sure quite how it works, but I know he's getting 100,000 for at least 2 wins or something like that. The guy's really doing well right now, and they're giving him bones. They're giving him guys he can knock out. He won't be leaving anytime soon, I don't think. Will he be fighting a top 5 guy? Does he really need to? This is the question. If you're going to keep fighting any old guy they give you, and he's able to knock him out, are you really going to start saying, well, yeah, let's go up and see if I lose and don't get the money that I'm going to get?
That's how it works.
But you've got a choice of getting the money by knocking out these bums because you're going to get the knockout of the night, or you can fight the top 5 guys and lose and not get anywhere near the money. Right now, he's sitting right very happily, I think, right now.
Well, I'd just like to remind everyone that Jay Jeans has AIDS. Brooks?
Yeah, I'm not sure if we see him going anywhere either. You know, like you guys have mentioned, he's been winning these Knockout of the Night awards. You know, it's obvious that him and Dana have their issues. They talk shit about each other all the time, but you know, at the same time, Dana's giving them these awards and the money. You know, I'm pretty sure that's pretty much Dana's decision who gets this cash. I guess it all just boils down to whether Roy wants to hold the heavyweight title or not, because obviously in the UFC that's not going to happen. But if he were to go to Bellator, there's a pretty good chance that could happen. You know, and who knows? We'd fucking see Roy Nelson versus Rampage in the heavyweight division. That would be fucking nuts. But I don't really know what else to say about it. He can't beat a top 5 guy in the UFC. Verdum crushed him. I've heard people say that was a close fight, but I don't think so. JDS is going to beat him every time. Velasquez is going to annihilate him every time. I'd like to see him fight Overeem, and I think Overeem would probably beat him too. But you know, I personally don't think he's going anywhere. He's getting paid too much over in the UFC to leave. I don't think Bellator can compete with what they're going to pay Roy. I know, like I said, I know there's a lot of shit talk going back and forth, but they're paying him, so I don't see a reason to leave.
Yeah, we actually briefly talked about the possibility of Rampage and Roy Nelson at heavyweight in Bellator. A clown match, so to speak. Speaking of clowns, he's our resident clown, but he's not like the ha-ha kind of clown. He is the kind of clown that gets you more Twitter followers and gets you the most crazy amount of pussy you've ever seen if you follow him on Twitter at The Aunt Jimmy Show.
You're damn right. Listen, people, Dana White doesn't like Roy Nelson, and he's fat. It's all over for Roy Nelson, in my opinion. I wouldn't be surprised. If he loses, they'll probably cut his ass. And if he wins, what they'll probably do is just offer him the shittiest contract renewal that you've ever fucking heard of, forcing him to fucking get out of there. But the UFC will be like, oh, we offered to re-sign him. You know how it goes, man. That's what I would do anyway. Dana White doesn't like him, so Big Country Man, honestly, he should have had a title shot by now. It's kind of a joke. So yeah, he has more reasons to feel whatever Rampage was complaining about, insulted or whatever, he doesn't get the respect or whatever. Roy Nelson has the biggest reason to complain about that. So yeah, he'll probably do a lot better if he moves on to somewhere like Bellator, to tell you the truth. They'll probably pay him more money, let him be a champion over there. That'd be pretty fucking funny.
Who did Nelson beat to earn that title shot, though?
Well, look at his streak, though. That counts for something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you know, it's just, I have never seen a guy more predictable than Roy as far as his future fights go. Because if he's not fighting a top 5 guy, he knocks him out in the first round. Boom, overhand right. If he does fight a top 5 guy, he gets completely outclassed in a unanimous judge's nod. It's really fucking crazy. Yo, speaking about predictable and unpredictable, one of the most unpredictable results the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world ever saw was way back in the day. I don't have the year in front of me. It was over a decade ago. Eddie Bravo and Royler Gracie. Eddie Bravo shocks the world, beating Royler, becoming the first American to ever submit a Gracie. And a rematch has been in the talks for years and years, but never sort of materialized. And it has finally materialized, ladies and gentlemen, at Metamoris 3. We're going to see the rematch, Bravo Gracie 2. The trailer is fucking sick. Bravo is saying, this is my chance to show everyone the world that wasn't a fluke. And Gracie's trying to prove everyone that it was a fluke. I cannot wait for this card. Rarely when it comes to just grappling am I this pumped about a fight. But maybe it's my constant listening of the Rogan Experience. I don't know what it is, but I can't wait to see Eddie Bravo step in there and hand Royler Gracie his ass a second time. Jay, what do you think about Bravo Gracie 2?
Should be a very interesting match. I'm not sure how the hell us Brits can watch. I'm not sure how the hell any of us can watch it without YouTube and stuff like that these days. But yeah, it should be good. I've had a chance to check out the trailer. I mean, I'm also a keen Rogan fan whenever I get a chance to listen to it. And yeah, Eddie Bravo's been on numerous and countless times, and they've discussed it numerous times. It will be a good fight. Hopefully it's a nice one. Hopefully we won't see any, sometimes you watch these grappling matches and they can have a lot of hype and you're just thinking, has this all just been hyped to just sell it? But this one should be interesting. The rivalry is there and it's just going to be a matter of time. When did you say it was booked for?
Later this year. It doesn't have a date yet, but you've got the found. Looking at it, another thing I wanted to add before I passed it off. Look at where these guys have gone since they fought. Gracie's fought more, maybe been in more competitions, but Jesus Christ, Eddie Bravo has written his own encyclopedia since he's founded 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu. He's opened up 30 schools. The guy, his craft has evolved so much since the first fight. I don't know if Royler has necessarily evolved. I mean, he has the great, the tried and true Gracie Jiu-Jitsu founded by Helio and Carlos, fucking back in the 1200s or some shit. But I really think Bravo has evolved more as a grappler. And I'm a pretty big guy. I'm definitely bigger than Bravo, but I would not want to be caught on the mat with that dude because I'd probably be sleeping in no time.
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about Royler. All I do know is that Eddie Bravo's cool as fuck. That's all I know. I know that he's on another level of fucking spirituality. He's fucking gonna float out to the center of the mat, rip a fucking bong, and fucking triangle Royler, and it's going to be all over. And that's all I fucking know about these two guys.
And then levitate out of the fucking arena. Ramses?
Hell yeah. I got to agree with Brooks, man. Eddie Bravo all the way. He's actually, I believe he's the younger guy, even though they're both kind of, old.
Yep, I think Bravo's 43 and Royler is either 45 or 47. Let me check that.
Yeah, well, he looks a hell of a lot older, man. I think Royler's done, so Bravo has a better chance now than he did in the first fight, to tell you the truth. I think he pulls it off. He smokes enough weed to do so. But hopefully he doesn't overthink this one, all right? You just got to go in there and do what you got to do. I'm going to be watching this shit for damn sure.
It's one of those fight for the ages, isn't it? Anyone who loves BJJ knows who Eddie Bravo is, knows who Royler Gracie is. I remember watching Royler Gracie fight back in the Pride days, and I remember him fighting Sakuraba, and he is one of the, for me, when, obviously now there's a lot of Gracies that are around that fight, but for me, when I first started watching the sport, the main Gracies were Royce, Henzo, Hickson, and Royler, and of course, he's one of those four. So, yeah, it's an epic fight, and I hope we do get to see it in the UK as well, because if you want to see exciting grappling, these are by far two of the best exciting grapplers out there.
Royce, Henzo, Royler, Hickson. You forgot about Hamzis and Hay, our MMA roundtable extraordinaires. Those motherfuckers. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. You don't know. I mean, really, even though I'm a big Bravo fan, we don't know if the first fight was a fluke. And I think that both guys are going to come in with a chip on their shoulder, and those are the best kind of fights. Bravo has a chip on his shoulder. Everyone, probably his own mom, thinks it was a fluke. Gracie obviously has a chip on his shoulder because he lost the first time around. It's going to be great. Eddie Bravo, he's been on the MMA podcast before. I think he was on like our 7th or 8th episode. We're going to try and get him back on again before Metamoris. Talk to him about it. He just had a baby when we had him on last year, so we'll talk to him about everything under the sun, MMA, grappling, being a dad. It'll be a fun interview. Follow us on Twitter, the MMA Podcast, to see when we get him booked again, because I'm pretty confident we will be able to hook that up. All right, a couple more news items before we get to guess that tweet and then break down UFC 161, and then I carry my happy ass to a baseball game. Johnny Hendricks saying, my H-bomb is better than Dan Henderson's H-bomb. Hendricks obviously has that devastating left. He put down John Fitch, I think, in 12 seconds. He put down Martin Kampmann in 46 seconds. Hendo's got the right. I personally don't like to compare them. You know, I like to think Hendo's got the right, Hendricks has the left, and I leave it at that. But Johnny Hendricks is going to bring up the topic, so we got to discuss it. Who has the better H-bomb, Hendricks left or Henderson's right? You know, I was asked last night which I would rather be hit by. I would probably rather be hit by Johnny just because he's the smaller guy, but I truly think Johnny has the more impressive punch. He put down 2 killers with iron jaws in Fitch and Kampmann, and combined under a minute. That is impressive as shit. And even though I respect Dan's very much, I think Johnny's actually got the more impressive H-bomb. Brooks, what do you think?
I gotta disagree here. I've heard someone say this before, and it was just be original, man, and come up with your own name for your punch. That shit is Dan Henderson. That shit should be copyrighted. He's fucking put down Fedor, for fuck's sake. I mean, how much higher can you get than putting out Fedor? Hendricks is knocking out smaller guys. Hendo's knocking out the big fucking guys, heavyweights, light heavyweights. I don't even think it's really a fucking comparison. I got to go with my boy Dan Henderson.
Someone last night offered up the nickname J-Train, but I'm the J-Train, baby. Woo woo! Ramses, what do you think?
Unfortunately, both these gentlemen have last names starting with the letter H, so they both have a valid claim to this punch. And I gotta say, people, Johnny Hendricks, he's throwing that shit still like he's like you would 100 mile per hour fastball. And Dan Henderson, he's throwing like Nolan Ryan would if you handed him a ball right now. All right. Hendricks, he's got the punch. His is better than Hendo's at this point. But if they'd fought back in the day, well, it would have been probably one of the greatest fights of all time, but Henderson would have come out on top. That's my opinion.
Because he's heavier. He's way heavier.
God bless him.
God bless that heavy, heavy man. Ray, what do you think about the H-bomb debacle we got going on here?
I'm agreeing with the J-Train. Woo-hoo! I think Johnny Hendricks, the way he's throwing and landing that punch now makes his punch more dangerous and more relevant. And you say about Hendo knocked out Fedor, how much higher can you go? Wait till you see Hendricks knock out GSP.
Hell yeah, I love that fucking call. Jay, what do you think? You rapscallion, you.
Yeah, man, we're discussing two very different things. The funniest thing about them is they both lost their 9th bout. But Hendricks has fought He's fought 16 times, and out of those 16 times, he's ended 8 of those fights with a knockout. Whereas Dan Henderson, his first 6 years of training, he didn't get one H-bomb finish. I mean, he knocked out Gracie and things, but he was a wrestler, and you got to consider Dan Henderson now. He's been fighting for 15. It's probably longer
50.
than
50 years.
50 years.
He started off back in 1963.
There we are. So he started back in 1963. So he didn't have... Henderson has come into his world. He's developed this right hand. But then there has been times where there's been the Shogun fight where he has fought the Iron Chin guy. And so did Johnny Hendricks. He fought the Carlos Condit. But you've got to consider this. Hendricks has only been professionally fighting for 6 years. In that time, we have seen the bomb. Henderson Henderson's been fighting for a lot longer. He took a while to develop the bomb in 6 years. He didn't really get many finishes. He's still a wrestler. So you've got to, I'm on the J train as well. We don't know how, Hendricks might be fighting for another 44 years by this logic. So yeah, maybe he's the next Dan Henderson, and maybe I don't know, when he comes to however many years in Dan Henderson's career, the equivalent of it, maybe he's going to have another move in the bag. He's going to have his wrestling, he'll have the Johnny Hendricks bomb, and he'll have another move, but he's still got 44 years more left of fighting.
All aboard the J train. Whoop, whoop. And maybe Jay, sort of like Hendricks, he didn't start off as good as Dan. He worked his way up, and then he could claim his right for the H-bomb. Maybe, Jay, maybe one day you can challenge me to be the J-Train. But we will move on from two of the most exciting fighters in MMA history to one of the most boring. John Fitch, cut from the UFC. He's going to be making his World Series of Fighting debut tomorrow night at WSOF 3. He's going to be fighting Josh Berkman. Let's talk about the entire card, the fight. Will you be watching? What fights intrigue you on it? I definitely will watch for the Fitch fight. I remember the co-main's pretty good too, but I'm blanking on who it is. I also know Brian Cobb is fighting on the fight, and I have a little warm spot in my heart for Brian Cobb because that guy's the first guy I ever interviewed back in the MMA at Work days. But what do you think about the World Series of Fighting 3, and you think we'll finally see a finish out of the immortally boring John Fitch?
No, there won't be any finish, but he definitely will win. I don't even know if I'm going to see it, the World Series of Fighting. All I know is that's the only fight I know about. And is it even going to be on free TV? I mean, if it's on free TV, maybe I'll see it on Twitter that it's going down, and I'll tune in.
Yep, but, it's going to be on NBC Sports Network, I believe, so that is free TV.
Yeah, well, I wasn't busting my ass to see John Fitch in the UFC, so why am I going to do it to watch him in the World Series of Fighting? I'm just being honest. But he'll probably win, of course. They'll put him over. That's what I would do. Word on the street.
I like John Fitch. I'm probably going against the grain here. But yeah, I've got the card up in front of me. You've got the main card, John Fitch versus Josh Berkman, Steve Carl versus Tyson Steele. I spoke to Steve Carl a while back, and he basically sees this as a title eliminator. He said, if I win this fight, I get the winner of Fitch Berkman for the welterweight title. So he's obviously looking for big things. Brian Cobb's fighting Justin Gaethje. And it's funny you should mention Brian Cobb, because I know obviously that interview you did was with Josh. I know he's a big friend or fan of Brian Cobb. And I watched Brian Cobb, I think it was only his only UFC fight, when he got head kicked by Terry Etim. I was there in the crowd. And then you've got Jacob Volkman versus Lyle Beerbom. The fight I'm looking forward to most is the main event, John Fitch, Josh Berkman. I think Fitch will get a finish. He finished Berkman before. The reason Fitch doesn't finish is because he's fighting the top tier guys, and it's harder to finish at that kind of level. But yeah, I see him winning by submission. Josh Berkman's good, but Fitch in a whole new league.
It's all interesting that they didn't have the Rumble. Rumble isn't on this card, and I know that Tyron Spong, I think he was coming injured. So the fight card has taken some blows, but the fight card is still looking good. I've had the chance to watch the other World Series of Fightings, and I know that they've put on some good shows in the past. So I probably will. Yeah, if I can find a way to watch it, of course I give it a watch. But yeah, Fitch has got his work cut out, man. If he does win, does he work his way back to the UFC? What happens? We don't have a clue what Dana's stipulations on this guy is. But does he have to get a finish, first of all? He's fighting a Berkman who has done incredibly well. I mean, he got the win over Gerald Harris. Of the same promotion. So this is his promotion. John Fitch is walking into it. Everybody's talking about him, but right now it's all been Berkman in this promotion so far, and he's defied the odds a couple of times. I think both fights he walked into as the underdog. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It should be good. Yeah, good luck Berkman is all I can say. Let's see what he can do.
Brooks?
He's gone.
Oh wait, I don't know what
connection problems. I had one too.
Disappeared. Yeah, I'll see if we can add him back. But in the meantime, actually, let's see if we can add him back now because we don't want him to miss out on the Bonehead of the Week, or not the Bonehead of the Week. Jesus Christ, where's my head today?
Jake?
Guess that tweet, dude.
Jake, go home.
Honestly, I mean, the only thing I can mark it up to is I'm going to be moving a couple thousand miles in a few weeks, and my head's just all over the place. I do apologize. We are trying to add Brooks back now. Maybe we'll just start off talking about that UFC 161 card, because I don't want to leave him out of Guess That Tweet. Guess that cheat. Actually, I do have one more news story we can talk about in the meantime, so we don't leave Brooks out of the 161 madness or Guess That Tweet, and that is the Vitor Belfort thing. Vitor, I remember a year ago, came out very against TRT, and he, I think, made a metaphor with MMA and Formula One racing. And he said in Formula One racing, everything's been taken out of the driver's hands and put in the engineer's hands. And it's not about who's the best driver, it's about who can tune the best car. And that's what MMA is turning into. It's not who's the best fighter, it's what engineers, what scientists can tune the best fighter using a different combo of drugs and testosterone. And I actually really agreed with Vitor. I thought it was a very apt comparison. It was spot on. Vitor's made a 180 cents. Back at his last win against Luke Rockhold, someone asked him about TRT, and he insinuated that the Brazilian crowd beat up the reporter simply for asking about TRT. It wasn't an accusatory question. It was just him asking, Vitor, what's the deal? You on TNT? Are you on TRT? Vitor now finally has come out of the closet, so to speak. He is openly admitting that he's on massive amounts of TRT. What changed? What made Vitor go from being against TRT and saying all this stuff about how horrible it is to him being on the other side of it? I personally think it was that armbar against John Jones. He probably thinks about that. So he was so close. All respect to everyone Jones has fought. No one has come close to beating John Jones except for the one moment where Vitor almost ripped his arm out of his torso, and he was so close. And if that Vitor now was latched on to John Jones' arm, he wouldn't have only have gotten the submission. He would have done terrible damage to Jones' arm. I mean, we already saw nerve damage in it on a non-roided up Vitor. Fucking imagine what we would have seen with a roided up Vitor. In your opinion, what caused the switch from him being this anti-TRT guy to a pro-TRT guy? We'll do it Ray, then Ramses, and then Jay, and I'll try and get Brooks on. If he isn't on by the end of this topic, we'll just go to Guess That Tweet.
Basically, the guy's a hypocrite, isn't he? He doesn't want to talk about it. He wants to make criticism of other people taking whatever they're taking, and he makes a comparison to the Formula One car, which I think is utter bullshit, because the Formula One thing is completely different to the fighter thing. Like Luke Rockhold said, it wasn't TRT that threw that head kick. But yeah, he's basically making himself look like an idiot. Now that he's actually doing something, now that he's the kind of the shoes on the other foot now, and he's in a position where he needs to take something for whatever reason. Now he's turning around now he's turning his views around because he's seeing the effect it's having on him. But yeah, the whole thing with the reporter in Brazil was ridiculous. I mean, that was the MMA junkie guy, John, I think his name was. It was just completely and utterly over the top. There was just no need for him to come out and make such a pig-headed statement as what he said about, beat up the guy for asking me a question. He's a journalist. He's supposed to ask me a question. But yeah. He's just, for me, he's a hypocrite. When someone else is doing it, it's wrong. Now that he's doing it himself, he's changed his view. So, for me, I think Balfour's a hypocrite.
Yeah, good thing you hit on that, Ray. Sorry, I think Jake was going to chime in. No? Maybe not?
Nope, I was just going to say somebody's calling me, so I'm going to see who the fuck this is.
Yeah, it better be a chick, dude. Anyway, Ray, you mentioned the reporter from MMA Junkie, John Morgan. He did beat him up, whatever, and I believe it was John that got this interview with him because they ended up on the same plane together coming back from Brazil or something like that. They were on the plane together for 3 hours, and that's how he scored this interview. And then they finally just laid it all to rest. And then, of course, Vitor did have to own up and talk about the TRT shit because he owed it to this man because what he did was inappropriate. But yeah, I think that's why Vitor finally spoke up because, it was about time. Come on. Everybody knows, and, he just wants to – he's hoping it goes away after this. But, of course it won't because that's the only story there is when it comes to Vitor these days. That's what I think anyway. What's up, Jay?
And an update on the mystery caller really quick. I was like, hello, this is Jake, because that's how I answer my phone, because I'm a professional motherfucker. And the one was like, I thought this was the other, and then I just started laughing at this chick until she hung up. Like, all right, what you were looking for was wrong number? That was what you were trying to say there? Oh, God. Fucking these people, dude. These crazy sluts from Chiefland, Florida, calling me up with the wrong number. I would give everybody your number, but that would be very random and cruel to whoever that poor retarded woman was. Jay, you're up.
TRT's becoming an interesting debate, and the fact that you got to be able to answer questions, especially if you're taking it, you've got to be able to have a good defense and be like, yeah, I need it for this reason or that reason. But to just come out and be like, no, you deserve to get beaten up, that is a joke. That is that's whatever. When you're a little kid and you lie about something so directly, you just completely ignore that it's ever even been brought up or something like that. Where you decide to, we're ringing, we're actually dialing. I hear
we're dialing. We're dialing.
That's where you're a kid and where your sister asks you a question like, "What have you done with my chocolate?" And you're just like, "What have you done with my chocolate?" It's the old-fashioned immature thing where you don't really know what to say, so you just decide. Just decide to.
Is Brooks there? Is Brooks there? Hello?
Are we prank calling Brooks?
I was trying to call the number on his Skype. Fuck it, we will move on, I guess. Let's get to Guess That Tweet. I tried as much as I could to wait up for Brooks, but that cocksucker ain't coming back anytime soon. I got a couple tweets saved up. Let me erase Brooks off the leaderboard so this shit doesn't get confusing for the three of us or the four of us. Man, I'm slipping today. Alright, we got Jay, Ramses, and Ray. Ramses representing Team MMA Podcast, looking for a 20th victory tonight, but we all know what's going to happen. Jay is the steroid champion. He likes to cheat nonstop, and he probably will win. Ray, he's probably... Jay's been in like 15 of these and gotten first or second every single time. Ray has been in like 38 of these, and he's only won twice. So Ray's looking to pop himself up to... he literally has one more win than Buffalo Dave. Buffalo Dave has been dead for 7 years, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm cheating and Jay's not, and I'm still bloody losing.
Oh, shit. Alright, well, let's start up the music. Guess That Tweet. I'm hosting it this week, you crazy cocksuckers. Let's get straight into it. This is a UFC 161 themed version of Guess That Tweet. Every potential tweeter is fighting at UFC 161. And let's start it off. Alright. The tweet is, signing posters with LeBron James at UFC 161. Hashtag MMA, hashtag wrestling, hashtag UFC. And the picture is him signing posters with Rashad Evans. So it's signing posters with LeBron James. And the joke is that Evans looks like James or something racist. Who knows? Whoever's up on the list, I don't have it in front of me. Who do you think it was out of the following fighters? Ryan Jimmo, Sean Pearson, James Krause, and John the One Maguire.
Well, I can't imagine Ryan Jimmo or John Maguire being friends with Rashad Evans. I can't imagine any of them.
Jimmo and Evans both fight at the Black Zillions camp, by the way.
Does Jimmo actually fight there, man?
Yeah, Jimmo is one of the few white guys at the Black Zillions.
I will go with Jimmo then.
Ramses?
Shit. I won't go with Jimmo. The other one was, sorry, one more time.
Ryan Jimmo, Sean Pearson, James Krause, John McGuire.
I'll be the one to go with Johnny McGuire. Why not?
I think I saw this tweet, and I've had obviously I'm now best friends with UFC fighter Luke Barnett, and I know he's out there with John, and I've spoke with John as well over the last couple of days, and he's now saying he's now going to be becoming a regular guest on the show, which is awesome. I think it was John McGuire as well.
It was not James Krause. It was not Ryan Jimmo, which I am thrilled that I steered Jay toward Ryan Jimmo. It was not Ryan Jimmo. And it was not John McGuire. Point goes to the host. Sean Pearson tweeted that out. Hell yeah, I'm taking the early 1-0 lead on you, crackheads.
Is that true about Ryan Jimmo, or did you just try and deliberately lead me, man?
No, Jimmo does actually... Jimmo trains with the Black Zillions, and I remember he was talking a lot of good stuff about Dion Staring before he went up against Cormier, and said, I don't know, everyone's hating on Staring, he might beat Cormier. Alright, tweet number 2, and I'll go ahead and tell you now, I like doing this. It's the same group of 4 guys. It's Ryan Jimmo, Sean Pearson, James Krause, and John McGuire. And the tweet is, drinking sour milk is the worst way to start Monday morning. Damn expiration dates. Hashtag symbolic. Hashtag who knows. Jimmo, Pearson, Krause, McGuire, Ray, who you got?
Such a nothing tweet, isn't it? I'll go for... Right, it was Pearson, McGuire, Jimmo, and...
Krause, I think.
I'll go for Krause.
You know what? I'll also go with Krause. Sorry.
I will stick with my pick last time and Ryan Jimmo because I have no clue.
Well, Sean Pearson does drink a lot of milk, Jay. You sure?
On that note, I will stick to my pick, you crazy man.
Alright, so you're not going to take Jimmo. Is it Pearson or McGuire, Jay? It is Jimmo. Jay gets the point. Ryan Jimmo's the one drinking sour milk. That motherfucker. Me and Jay with a point. Hamzies and Hay with 0 points. Moving on. I got the same 4 guys, gentlemen. Jimmo, Pearson, Krause, and McGuire. Who done it? There wasn't a hashtag. I just said that because I'm going mentally insane. The tweet is... Watching Adam Richmond...
Mentally insane.
MMA mentally insane, thank you. Watching Adam Richmond on Man vs. Food Nation, never good when you have to make weight for a fight, but I can't help but watching it, LOL. Jimmo, Pearson, Krause, McGuire. Jay, who you got? You sticking with your boy Jimmo?
No, every time you say that, it makes me want to question what I'm doing. I will go with McGuire this time, I guess, then.
I'll stick with my last choice, Krause.
I'll copy Jay because he just texted me that he'd read that tweet. He's just got it up on his computer now, so I'll go with McGuire as well.
Jay, you can't be cheating like this. It was John the One McGuire. He's colluding, ladies and gentlemen. Ray has attested to it. All his Facebook friends know Jay's a cheat. They told me themselves, allegedly. Who the fuck knows? Ramses was 0. Ray and myself with 1. Jay in the lead with 2 points.
This is crazy, guys. You even put me first, so I can't... I don't have time to get any information.
Shut up,
you guys.
All right, I've got a new group of 4 guys, and these 4 guys will be the 4 for the final 3 tweets, and it's Tyron Woodley, Pat Barry, Rashad Evans, and Yves Jabouin. And yes, I did pick them because they were the 4 black fighters fighting on UFC 161. It's kind of racist, but not really racist. I like all 4 guys. All right, the first one. Yo, Twitter and MMA family. I will be taking a few days away from social media to focus and keep my spiritual game on point. Thanks, and follow. Which I don't understand the follow part, because if you're reading it, you're probably already following him. Whatever. Yo, Twitter and MMA family, I'll be taking a few days away from social media to focus and keep my spiritual game on point. Was it Tyron Woodley, Pat Barry, Rashad Evans, or Yves Jabouin, Ray?
Wait there, I'm just waiting for the text to come through. Jay, hurry up.
Hurry up, Jay.
My phone keeps vibrating, which makes this worse.
I've got it now. Thanks, Jay. I'll go for Pat Barry.
This is borderline racist. But you know,
racist, R-A-Y.
Why did this tweet have to start off with "yo"? Is what I'm saying.
That's why I picked 4 black guys, because I was like, wait, if I just list the one, this is gonna be a gimme. Yo, Twitter and MMA family, I'm getting my spiritual game on point. Like, I mean, that's obviously a black guy.
Yep, and I'll continue the stereotype by choosing whichever black guy is named Tyrone.
Tyron Woodley.
You managed to pick some guys I don't follow. I don't think, as far as I know, Rashad Evans uses the word yo. I do follow Pat Barry, and he does like to say the old word yo. I don't know who the hell this Eve guy is. Eve Jabuin, whoever. Is that the referee? Whatever.
Eve the Tiger Jabuin. Come on, son. You're thinking of Yves Levine. I'm talking about Eve the Tiger Jabuin. You gotta respect your fellow Eves. You got Eves fucking Jabuin, Eves Edwards, Thug Jitsu. Hashtag.
This guy sounds like a bum. I will go with Pat Barry.
Alright, Pat Barry by Ray and Jay was incorrect. Rashad Evans, that was also smart. It was not Rashad Evans. It was not Yves Jabuin, whatever it is. Ramsey gets himself on the board, makes it very interesting. Everybody has 1 point. Jay has 2. So this is anybody's game. This is the final regulation tweet, though. So Ray and Ramses, you're going to want to pick someone different than Jay, because obviously if Jay gets it right, then he wins automatically.
Do you want me to go first or last,
yeah,
boys?
First. Jay, don't bother texting me with this one. I'll just have a guess myself.
Jay first. Wish I could be... Alright, we all know that the E3 video game conference was somewhere. I don't know where the fuck it was. But the E3 video game conference, they were showing a bunch of video games. And the tweet is, wish I could be at E3 with all of you, but I got a job to do next week. Was it Woodley, Barry, Rashad, or Eves?
Man, that does sound like a Rashad Evans tweet, but I don't know whether he's a gamer or not. I don't know this Eve bum guy. So I know that Pat Barry used to play the Xbox for a bit, so for that reason I will stick with my first one and go with Pat Barry.
Son of a bitch, Jay. Alright, I'll go with Eve Jabuin then.
I'm going to go Pat Barry as well, but you can't now.
See, Jay rationalized his tweet so much, he has to be cheating. I mean, it wasn't this guy because of this, or I guess because this guy did this. It was Pat Barry. Jay takes another victory. We all hate you. Bullshit. The 8th victory for Jay. I guess that is the 15th.
I want Jay to be drugs tested. He's the Thiago Silva of this podcast.
He really is.
No contests.
He and the Jew Ross Finkelstein need to face off in some sort of steroid championship. All right, Jay takes the victory, and we'll go ahead and knock this overtime tweet out of the way too. Fuck it. This was tweeted out after his last loss. I went deep into the Twitter archive and found the tweet one of these guys made after their last loss. It was Woodley, Barry, Rashad, or Eves. Things didn't turn out the way I wished on Saturday, but I'm no stranger to disappointment. Many doubt me, but it doesn't matter. I'll be back. It actually says many doubt me, but it don't matter. But you're choosing out of 4 black guys anyway, so heyo. Ray, is it Woodley, Barry, Rashad, or Eves?
I'll go for Tyrone Woodley.
Rashad Evans.
Tyrone got knocked the hell out, so I don't think it'd be him. Rashad Evans had an embarrassing performance. I think he was complaining about a hand injury or something.
Well, it was Rashad Evans, so you're wrong, and I hate you, Jay. Ramses is right. It was Rashad Evans. Ramses wins this week, even though he doesn't really. Jay with the victory. Even though I hate you more than I would hate fucking somebody who killed my own parents, I'll let you get a victory speech in, you dirty bastard. I hope you go to hell.
I don't know what to say this week. Just stick to your first answer. I picked Jimmo and Barry and just stuck with them guys. So if I was cheating, surely on that basis I would have messed up. Whatever, guys.
Yo, honestly, the funniest thing ever was you posting up on your Facebook, hey, it wasn't joking, but you're like, hey, my buddies on the podcast are accusing me of cheating. How about you all vouch for me and let people know I'm not a cheater? And you did get a big response. You got like 10 people to comment, and literally all of them were like, oh, you fucking cheat every time I play you at this. You stole my controller during Super Mario Kart 64. Fucking Jay, you've got a soiled past, and once we find out that you are the cheater that we all know you are, I'm gonna make sure that all your victories are wiped clean from your record like UFC.
Sanctions.
And you get the Pete Rose fucking treatment from the Round Table. You're never inducted into the Round Table Hall of Fame simply because of the scandal. It's going to go deep, cocksucker. All right,
I'm just glad my ex-girlfriend didn't comment, man.
Oh, shit. A cheating scandal there. We won't get into that. All right, UFC 161 this coming Saturday in Winnipeg. We see cards in Canada a lot, but this is the first one in recent memory I can think going down in Winnipeg, the Great West. We will touch on the main card, but first I want to talk about the prelims. What is your favorite fight on the prelims? On Facebook, we have Yves Jabouin and Dustin Pegg, and Mitch Clark and John McGuire. We also have Roland Delorme versus Edwin Figueroa, Sean Pearson versus Kenny Robertson, Sam Stout and James Krause, and the fight that I suspect most of us, if not all of us, will pick, Jake Shields versus Tyron Woodley. I'm seeing a lot of people pick both sides of this. Shields has excellent jiu-jitsu. Woodley has excellent striking and wrestling. I think we're going to see a Tyron Woodley second-round TKO, and that is the fight I'm most looking forward to on the prelims. What do you guys think? And it is Ray to start us off.
Is it me to start us off?
Yes.
With regards to the prelims, I've got to shout out the John McGuire fight because obviously, like I said earlier on, we've been having quite a lot. I've been having quite a lot to do with his trainers, people who are training with him, and obviously I spoke to John as well. Obviously, this is his lightweight debut. He's been told he should drop down to lightweight for quite a while, and now he's doing it. After he said to me himself, he's had 2 fights where guys have just basically held him down and lay on him. And he talked about the John Hathaway fight and said, I think he spoke to John afterwards and they both agreed it was one of the worst fights that pair of them had had. And I think most people would agree with that. But taking that fight out, because I want to exclude that one because I'm biased towards that one, I'm going to pick the obvious of Jake Shields or Tyrone Woodley. I spoke to Woodley a while ago. I actually spoke to him about 3 days after his Nate Marquardt fight. But then he looked awesome in his debut against Jay Hiron. And I hope we see the same again. I hope he knocks Jake Shields out. I'm not a big fan of Jake Shields. I find his fighting style a little bit boring. I'm all for the ground game. I like the ground game. But I like it when people are doing something with the ground game. And he just seems to be a bit more of a control guy rather than an exciting finisher. So I'm looking forward to seeing Woodley. And I'm hoping he gets another knockout.
Yeah, I'm a massive fan of Jake Shields personally. I think a lot of people, you know, they're not a fan of him. They don't like his fighting style. But I like the guy. I think he does his job. Everybody knows what his game plan is. And if you can't stick with that, well, you shouldn't be fighting him in the first place. I think Tyron does win this fight, though. And this has been hard for me to say as he also fought Jay Hiron, who is I'm also a fan of. So I'm going to have to see Woodley knock out another one of my favourites. And it's just going to be sad to see, man. For that reason, it's not the fight I like the most. I am looking forward to the Yves Jabouin. Wait, no, I'm not. That guy's a bum. I'm looking forward to the Sam Stout fight probably most because I think he's going to knock him out.
Yeah, well, listen, people. I'm going with Tyrone. He's going to win. But the prelim fight I'm looking forward to, I got to agree with Ray. For the same reason, I'm interested in the John McGuire fight, man. He was on the Word on the Street podcast. Was a great guy, real fun. And he is the underdog in this fight, but I think he'll fucking pull it off, man. I'm even going to put a couple bucks down on that shit.
Oh shit, cocksucker! All right, I do want to talk about the main event kind of in depth, but we are pushing it time wise a little bit. We're hitting 2 hours now, so let's talk about these first 3 fights all in a bunch. Pat Barry, Sean Jordan, Alexis Davis, Rosie Sexton, Ryan Jimmo, Igor Pakryak. Barry Jordan is heads up in Vegas. Davis a huge favorite. Jimmo a moderate favorite over Igor Pakryak. I am leaning with all the favorites, Barry, Davis, and Jimmo. I think Jordan, I can't choose what is, I can't really fall on where his trajectory is going to be in the UFC. He lost that one-sided unanimous decision to Chick Congo last summer. He did just beat Mike Russo via TKO, and that is impressive. Russo has an iron jaw, but Barry a little bit more experienced. He has that whole kickboxing career behind him from back to like the early 2000s, coming off a loss to LeVar Johnson and then a win against Shane Del Rosario. This is going to test both guys, but I got Barry via kickboxing. I don't think Rosie Sexton has a chance in hell against Alexis Davis. Sorry, Ray and Jay. But like we see with a lot of British fighters, I don't think she has anything for the Alligators wrestling. And I got Davis by one-sided unanimous judges nod. I also have Jimmo. He has hands of steel. I say he knocks out Poker Jack in the first round. We see a little bit more of that robot. What do you guys think?
I guess that means I'm first then, since Ray hasn't started talking, and I'm always after Ray.
Yes, when there's a long gap, I assume it's you.
The Sexton Davis fight does intrigue me. The funniest thing about this fight is both girls have 13 wins. They're identical: 7 submission, 4 decision, 2 KO or TKO, which is always interesting. I'm picking Sexton, but that's only because she's really British. If she wasn't, I probably wouldn't be picking her, because Davis's wrestling is very good. Barry should get the finish in this fight. Hopefully he lands the body shot. I do like a good body shot finish. Jimmo versus Pakryak is an extremely interesting fight in my eyes. The only reason I'm picking Jimmo is because the event is taking place out in Canada. Other than that, I think Pakryak is probably the better fighter minus the chin. I'm just thinking he'll get the judge's nod, and he will be able to pull through with the hometown crowd.
Yeah, these 3 fights on the main card, the first 3, they're all pretty exciting to me. Basically, it's because I don't really have a dog in any fight. I know who I think is probably going to win, but it's one of these you don't care. Pat Barry versus Sean Jordan. I'm predicting it's going to be a simultaneous knockout draw. That's right, people. They're going to knock each other out at the same time. Sexton and Davis, it's going to be Davis all the way. And I believe Ryan Jimmo is going to knock the hell out of Igor and get him cut from the UFC. This is probably a loser leaves town match in my opinion. And I'm looking forward to that one. Ryan Jimmo is going to take that one.
I'm looking forward to watching Rosie Sexton. Again, she's someone that I've interviewed a couple of times, with her being obviously one of the biggest female fighter on the UK scene. Funnily enough, I actually got an email from the UFC media asking me to interview Rosie, which I thought was pretty cool. When they announced that she was going to be fighting. The thing with Rosie, she's only got 2 losses, and you look at who those 2 losses are to, they're both to really high-level fighters. It was Zoila Gergal and Gina Carano. Of course, for a long time, Gina Carano was the equivalent of what Ronda Rousey is now. She was the lead woman in MMA.
Woof.
But yeah, I think Rosie's more well-rounded. Alexis has obviously got high-level grappling, but Rosie's, I think, better on the feet, and I think she'll have enough to be able to keep the fight standing. Maybe I'm being biased, but I'll be rooting and I'll be picking Rosie to win all the way. Pat Barry, Sean Jordan. Sean Jordan is a really powerful striker, and I love watching Pat Barry fight. But you always wonder whether he can take the shot. He's been caught. He's been hit a few times. But in his last fight, he's done quite well, and he's avoided the big shots. And I think he's a better technical striker, and he's got power in himself. But Jordan's got the power to probably get more than one-punch knockout. But I'm going to go with Barry to chop him down with leg kicks and get the win. And for Ryan Jimmo Igor Pakryak, before Jimmo joined the UFC, he was known to be not a very exciting fighter to watch. He was a bit of a lay and pray type fighter, from what I can gather and from what I've read and listened to other people's comments. And then when he joined, of course, he had the ridiculous 8-second knockout But I think Jimmo goes back to what he's known for, and he'll take Puck Wright down. We know Puck Wright, one, he doesn't have a very good brain. This is a guy that shot in and took down Vinny Magalhaes, which is just the dumbest thing one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. And then he had a dig at Vinny for his ground game or something about it not being a fight because he lost by submission, but yeah, he shot him for the takedown. Well done. So I think Jimmo will basically take him down and lie on him for 15 minutes.
I want to get a drop of you just saying "well done" and play it whenever somebody fucks up. All right,
pretty dumb.
I would be playing it on myself constantly today. All right, 2 more topics to go around the roundtable with before we close this motherfucker out. The co-main event, Roy Nelson taking on Stipe Miocic. What are your thoughts on the fight? I think all of us will go the same way, because like I mentioned, Roy Nelson's the most predictable guy in the business. If he's fighting a top 10 or a top 5 guy, he's going to lose via unanimous decision. Stipe Miocic, he's nowhere close to the top 5, so you know what we're going to see? We're going to see that overhand right. We're going to see a first-round knockout. Ramses, what do you think about this fight? And and what might be Nelson's last fight in the UFC. We will see.
Yeah, the UFC...
Ramses, before you go, rather than picking who's going to win, I think we should all pick what minute is going to win in, rather than who's going to win.
Oh, my question was going to be over under 3 minutes. So.
All right, I was going to say I'll take him in the second minute.
First round I'll go with 4 minutes and 18 seconds. 4 minutes and 18 seconds.
I'm going 2:13, and I'm actually going to jot these down to see whoever gets closest. So Ramses, you're at 4:18. I'm at 2:13. Jay and Ray, what do you guys think?
I'll go for 2:35.
I'm actually going to go for the 3 minute mark.
So exactly 3 minutes in.
Yes, I'll go through.
I
think he's got a couple of 2:58 or around then, so I'm feeling quite confident.
Simple as that. I have 2:13. Ramses is 4:18. Ray with 2:35. Jay with 3 on the dot. We will see how quick Roy Nelson knocks out Stipe Miocic. Last topic of the night, a topic we probably could talk about ad nauseum. A fight that could be great, or it could be the worst fight we've ever seen in our lives. Dan Henderson and Rashad Evans, both of them coming off snoozers of losses. Rashad Evans and that little Nog fight, that was so infinitely boring. And Evans lost the judge's nod. Henderson, the same thing, a split judge's nod, lost to Lyoto. What do you think about the fight? Look, I am going to be rooting for Dan. I like Dan a lot, and he could catch him. He easily could catch Rashad with that right. But Rashad's the quicker guy, has a little bit better footwork, and I'm actually picking Rashad Evans via unanimous decision in this one. Ray, what do you think about the fight? What do you think happens?
I like both of these fighters. I think that we've had some great moments from them, but we've also had some, like you say, some not so great moments. I actually think this fight is going to play out negatively. I don't think it's going to be very exciting. I think it's going to be Evans' footwork that's going to be the difference. Henderson's going to be looking for the big punch. Evans going to be in and out with his me and Jay like to coin stand and tag. Go on, Jake.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I think Evans wins, but I think Henderson's gonna be the one that's walking forward most of the times. Evans is just gonna be jumping in and out, circling around toward the left hand, not the right hand. But I totally agree.
Yeah, I'm thinking like me and Jay often use the term stand and tag, and we both agree we hate watching stand and tag. I think lay and pray gets a lot of stick, but for me, stand and tag is just as bad as lay and pray. So I think it's going to be stand and tag from Evans. There's going to be no knockout power from Evans. It's going to be in out, jab, right, jab, and he'll win. He'll win a decision, either 2 rounds to what? Is it a 5-round fight actually?
It is a 5-round fight, and to sort of touch on the stand and tag, Chris and I talk about the same thing. I think Chris coined the term glorified sparring match, and I have a fear that's what we're going to end up seeing.
Yeah, I've got stand and tag written all over this. I'll watch the fight. I hope I'm wrong. It's not a fight I'm overly excited for, but yeah, Evans by stand and tag.
It's 3 rounds, guys. I don't know where you're getting your information
What?
about 5 rounds from. They were training for a 3-round fight that was short notice, so they both agreed for 3 rounds.
This is the first fight in a while that the main card's been a 3-rounder, huh?
Yes, I can't remember exactly when, but it did go to 3 round whenever it was.
Maybe the last one since McCall Johnson won. I can't think of any main event that's been 3 rounds since then, and that should have been a 4-rounder.
I'm trying to remember as well. I'm sure Ray will come back with the statistics in a bit.
The one in Sweden was a 3-rounder because of the late replacement, Masasi and
Queen
Latifah, yeah. This fight is actually more interesting than most people are giving it credit for. If Rashad Evans himself said he's going to go for 50 takedowns, and fair enough, that's the best way he should be able to win this fight, is if he keeps pressuring Henderson and puts him on his back like he was able to do against Rampage and like he's able to do against Thiago Silva. The reality is, though, is he's no longer training with a good wrestler anymore. He's getting trained by Kenny Monday down at the Black Zillions. When he first went to the Black Zillions, it was Mike Van Arnsdale. Then they were down for a bit without even a wrestling coach. Now they got somebody back who is nowhere near the same caliber as Mike was. This is why he lost the Little Nog fight, because at the time he didn't even have a wrestling coach, and the whole team just went to shreds. Now the striking of all of them has improved a lot more. I mean, you've seen Thiago Silva striking looked phenomenal in that last fight. So did Vitor Belfort throwing the spinning back kick. But if Rashad Evans stands with Dan Henderson, which might happen, Henderson will knock him out. There is no doubt that Evans' chin won't be able to hold up that long. And the question is Rashad Evans might go for 50 takedowns, but if he hasn't been working with the best wrestling guys out there, how well is he going to find success in the takedown? And I actually view this. I'm picking Henderson to get this, man. I'm thinking Evans goes for these takedowns. It doesn't work for him. And Henderson starts to rock him in the first. In the second, Rashad's still all dazed. And Henderson finishes it off and cracks his lights out, man. Evans' striking will be improved, but his chin won't be as you can't teach chin. And this is going to be the fight where people start questioning the wrestling of the Black Zillions again.
I'll keep this real short. Dan Henderson versus Rashad Evans is going to be the biggest piece of shit boring fight you've ever seen. 3 rounds of sparring guaranteed. Both of these people already have their paychecks. It's already done. They have no reason to hurt each other. They know they're not seeing a title shot anytime soon. Definitely not this year. So what? They just want to get in there, get paid, not get hurt. They're not going to hurt each other. They're big names, and I got to tell you, man, listen to that interview that Rashad Evans did on Opie and Anthony. He sounded out of it, man. So for that reason alone, I think Henderson's probably going to edge him out in a decision. Word on the street.
Yeah, I definitely got to check that out. That sounded pretty wild. And I guess that does it for wrapping up UFC 161, and that does it for the roundtable until we come back for the come back from our summer hiatus. Jesus Christ, I probably need a break. You can tell, I'm all over the place. Ray, Ramses, Jay, I couldn't have done it without you. I've been a blabbering idiot today. Thank you so much for tuning in. You all have been great listening and supporting the podcast. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, the MMA Podcast. We're still going to be doing that show. We're doing it next Wednesday to break down UFC 161 if you want to listen. Always MMA Mental, word on the street. Ray, tell us about MMA Mental, MMA Victor. We'll let Ray talk, or we'll let Jay talk about the early stoppage. But tell us again where to find you and what is going on across the pond.
Yep, check out at MMA Mental. This week we've been speaking to a couple of home-based fighters. I spoke to a good friend of the show, Paul the Titan Taylor. He's fighting on the main card of the Ken Shamrock versus Ian Freeman UCFC 6, which is probably the biggest UK card, in my opinion, ever. It's completely stacked. There's 9 UFC veterans on the card, which is unheard of in the UK. But it's a fantastic card. I spoke to a couple of guys that fight for Cage Contender, who fought Cage Contender 17, Kiefer Crosby, and an exciting guy to look out for called Artem Lobov, who had a very interesting story about a conversation he had with Sean Shelby and his road to the UFC. So it's amazing to hear. He was cornering Conor McGregor, and he was in the right place at the right time, and it's opened up doors for him. So it'd be interesting to see where that goes. And check out our MMA Victor Roundtable, which is myself, Brooks, who of course was on this show with us, and Luke Barnett from the UFC, giving our views of the UFC main cards. We've done one this week, so check that out as well.
And just because Brooks dropped off the call, I'll give him a shout out. Follow him on Twitter and Facebook, The MMA Addiction. There's one A, so it's the MMA DDICTION, The MMA Addiction. It's they've got a bunch of shit going on over there, and a bunch of my buddies are doing it too. Brooks is doing it. My buddy Michael Holland from Oregon's doing it. They're making waves over there, and it's fun as fuck. I fucking love doing these podcasts. I would gladly do them just for the simple reason of being able to bullshit with friends. Word on the street, talking about BSing with friends. That is the Underground Podcast. You need to listen. You need to call in. You need to see if you can take the belt away from Ross Finkelstein, this MMA prodigy. He's been owning people week in and week out with any kind of MMA trivia you can throw at him. If you're familiar with Stump the Schwab from ESPN, the Schwab, he is the MMA prodigy. Try and take the belt from the Oracle. What is the word on the street? You got Bob Sapp over there. You got Marina Shafir and Ronda Rousey last week. That was fun as fuck. I also host that alongside Jamie Huey and Ramses. God damn, Ramses, you're making moves. What is the word on the street?
It's only going to get bigger, people. Trust me. The guests that are coming up, you won't even believe it. Of course, I can't talk about it, but it's gonna be crazy. We are doing a show tonight. Just gonna be some the usual bullshit. We're gonna be talking about ring card porn stars who look like ring card girls. How about that? We'll be talking about that, and also breaking news or whatever. I got the pipeline into the UFC. Just follow me on Twitter, the Ant Jimmy Show. Word on the street.
Speaking about porn stars who look like ring girls, we might also bring up cam stars who look like Twitter personalities, but I don't want to name names on the show. You'll have to tune into the Word on the Street. What time is that coming across at?
I think we're going to do 9 p.m. Central Time, 10 in the East. What is that, 7 Pacific? Yeah, let's do it then.
Hell yeah, let's do it then. We might do it then. You down for doing it an hour later? Because I'm actually going to be at a baseball game.
All right, it's going to be.
This is planning. This is planning on the fucking line. Hell yeah! Sorry to kind of put a gun to your head there, but Jay,
10 p.m. Central.
Jay, fucking tell us about the early stoppage. God damn it.
Man, MMA Mental's early stoppage, it's all picking up, man. We've had some fantastic guests on. I don't know what happened to Brooks. He's clearly abducted halfway through the podcast. He had to make an early stoppage from the show. We've had Jake on, we've had Ramses on, we've had Ray on. You never know who's going to be on, so just make sure you subscribe on the YouTube to MMA Mental's YouTube. Just click that channels button, make sure you subscribe to us, make sure you're following MMA Mental to check out when it comes out, and yeah, just go and catch up, guys. Just message me as well if you want to come on the show. If you've got half an hour, just give me a tweet and I'll see if I can work something out. But guys, come check it out.
I'm getting early reports through AP and Twitter that when we started talking about the H-bomb, the punch from Anderson and Hendricks, that Brooks was arrested by the NSA. You're not allowed to use the term H-bomb. The NSA snuck in, arrested Brooks' ass. So R.I.P. to Brooks, R.I.P. to Buffalo Dave, R.I.P. to Chris, who wasn't able to join us. Follow all of them on Twitter as well. We are taking a month off, but I have enjoyed this roundtable so much, both from all the support we've gotten and the listens, and just like I mentioned earlier, being able to talk MMA with friends of mine. It couldn't get any better than that. Definitely tune into UFC 161. Follow all of us. Thank you so much for tuning in. And until next month, we'll be back July 18th. Thursday, July 18th with the next roundtable. We'll be breaking down UFC 162 and UFC on Fox 8 at that point. Check it out. Thanks again for tuning in. Until next month, we will see you. We gone.
We gone.
We gone.
You guys are nuts.
We did it for the love of the